Hey guys, Jay-Sensei here again. This one we would if Luffy was Toshiro's reincarnation. Basically in this one, well, Toshiro would somehow die, and it can be through any way you want, but him as his soul reaper would die, and when he dies, he would reincarnate into, well, the One Piece verse being into Luffy. Now if you guys saw the poll, well, this thumbnail won for hey, well, what thumbnail would you want more? This thumbnail won. This is really close between this one and this one. But basically, this one was at 50%, this one was at 49%. And by the time I deleted it, they were both at 50, but I assume this one probably had more votes either way. Also happened to be on an even number, and basically this one had no votes whatsoever, none. It was at 1% the whole time. I assume that these two were split, so I had 0, and 0 gave me the answer, this one. Alright. And then, yes, I did a poll for Luffy's age. Toshiro was around 120, 130, probably even older than that. But I don't think he's in his thousands, because everyone in their thousands is an adult. And Toshiro looks like he should be in middle school. But also Zero again, and Zero said Luffy should be a shrimp the whole story until he would also need to unlock his adult form. I'm telling you right now, when he does unlock his adult form, he will stay in that form until the end of the series. But it is interchangeable, as the whole thing basically is that his adult form, he can use up a lot of power a lot quicker, and when he does use all his power, he goes back to his kid form, but he can use his forms interchangeably. His adult form would give him basically constant Bankai usage, but use up his energy faster. Well, then in his kid form, he can switch in between his Shikai, Bankai, and not use his adult form at the same time. One thing is that he lessens the damage that he does, and the area is a lot shorter. So, basically, more technique, but at the cost of power and range, and then less technique at the cost of higher power and better range. Hold up. So basically, this one also did the age poll for the age. Luffy's age basically ends up going on to be roughly about 2 years older than Ace and Sabo. So basically, he started the story off at 12 years old when he meets Shanks. Then, after you meet Shanks, he starts the story off at 12 years old when he meets Shanks. Then when the story would start off at Shelltown, he's 22. Then the story would pick up at Sabaody after the Rector Marineford, he'd be 24. So yeah. But by the time he's 24, he'd already be a full-grown man. Or look like one, at least. And so when Luffy meets Shanks, Luffy wears basically just, usually kind of like a white hoodie. I say very similar to Grammy's, but he has the hood off. And then Luffy also would just stick wearing like black pants, and some black sandals, and also has a sword that he had named Hyorin Maru, or Ice Ring. And with Hyorin Maru, Luffy basically had, found an merchant ship. The merchant tried to wield it with the merchant. Eventually, he kind of started shivering, with his breath getting frost. Basically, this sword is a supreme great sword. It's a Zanpakuto, I assume it would be. Plus, it's one of a captain, so yeah. Plus, it would allow itself to be upgraded to being Shikai and Bankai. But this sword would grant the user spiritual pressure if their body could handle how cold it would make them. And Luffy was perfect for his issue of the sword, and didn't seem to be affected by the cold whatsoever. Hell, even Shanks held it and felt cold. Giving the sword back to Luffy was swinging it around, and Luffy was pretty good with it, like he was a natural sword user. More Shanks and Luffy even fought, and Luffy was still able to actually, outclass Shanks in terms of sword technique. Which did shock everyone. So yeah. One thing Luffy had on Shanks was literally just skill, so that's about it. But Shanks has basically strength, speed, intelligence, everything on Luffy, and Luffy was a pretty bright kid too. He could outsmart basically every villager in Fuchsia besides now Shanks and probably been back then. So yeah, Luffy's pretty smart. He's also a lot more serious and mature, but he is very kind. He also does demand respect of those weaker than him or of those who are younger than him. But unless it comes to Whoop Slap or any villager of Fuchsia, where he would just require mutual respect, which they agree to. So yeah. It was always Luffy-kun or Luffy-san, and he's okay with that. Monkey just calls him Luffy-chan or Monkey-chan, and he doesn't really mind that. Monkey after all to him, he does occasionally call her mom by accident, what some people do with teachers. I did it once, and I never lived it down, because for the rest of the year she called me son. I hated it, but it was funny. Well, after the first week, everyone got used to it, except for me. But yeah. But and so we used to go on to just Luffy when he meets Ace and Sabo. Also, he just looks like the Straw Hat, but when he came to Higan's group, They look at Luffy, who was there, and Luffy just fought them all for trying for messing with Shanks. And Luffy pretty easily just beat them to a pulp. So, when Garp arrived, Luffy had already switched out his gear, because he still wore the straw hat, but he usually had like the red band around it, kind of tied to his head. As well, his training red band was pretty messed up. So Toshiro has like the turquoise or greenish blue bandana he has on like 1,000 Year Blood War. Luffy has that, but it's red. So yeah. And he's on his head, and Garp does see that Luffy did have the headband, so it didn't get ruined anymore. It's more like a sweatband now. Or the straw hat band, and now it's more like a headband for him. So yeah. But basically, Garp introduced Luffy to Ace, and Ace didn't think Luffy was older than him, because Luffy was like, well, Luffy looks pretty young, but he's like 5'4", not 5'4", he's 4'4", which is Toshiro's height. And when Ace refused to believe Luffy's older than him, Luffy beat him to a pulp. Like, Ace like, this brat can't be older than me. It's like Ace being like a whole foot shorter than Luffy is. Luffy just kicked Ace into a tree, so, yeah. And Ace immediately just recovered after like 5 minutes, but he was just shocked at how hard he was kicked. And Luffy didn't like use any full strength. Like, he used like 0.2% of his power and kicked Ace into a tree. Hold up. Sorry about that. I tried to yawn, I was choking on something at the same time. Alright. What was it? Oh yeah. So Luffy would basically kick Ace in the tree. Ace would try to Luffy. Luffy just pulls out Horimaru, and well, he would just hit Ace in the chest like a palm strike. And Ace immediately hit the ground, just winded heavily all over again. And Luffy just proceeds to just decimate Ace with raw hand-to-hand combat. Luffy, in terms of hand-to-hand combat, would use Hakuda. So if we were to equivalent Toshiro's age with, we're getting Luffy everything Toshiro has besides Bankai and Chikai. So, yeah, Luffy can use this. Basically, Luffy can also materialize Haki already, which is basically him materializing his conquerors into blasts. Because he had used it while he was hanging out with Shanks. And Luffy can do it by will, but he can only knock out around 100 or so people, which is still pretty powerful. Because Luffy materialized it like a year or two ago by accident. So, yeah. And it's before Garp had brought Ace to the Great Terminal. So, or not to the Great Terminal, to the Bandits. Luffy happened to be hanging out in the forest, as Luffy was supposed to live with the Bandits, but he doesn't live there. He lives in Fuchsia. Hell, he even bought a house there. He has a job in Gold Kingdom, too. So, you can just have to shout it like that. But so Luffy just proceeds to just beat the mess out of Ace still. Then the Bandits already know who Luffy is, but he says hi. Then he kind of just says that he's not going to live in the Bandits' forest. He's going to go live in Fuchsia. And Garp says, alright then, but I'm going to come here. Me and you are going to the Bandits' hideout, and we're going to have Ace here. And Luffy actually says he has a better idea. As immediately, he told Ace, would you like to live in Fuchsia? Where Minnesota, the forest is my house, is basically not, well, it would be considered in the Fuchsia area, but it's more or less near the forest. And Ace agreed. So, yeah. But actually asked if Luffy could have another person. Luffy says, sure, why not? And Ace immediately grabs Sabo, telling him they can live in a house, not in the forest, or the Great Terminal. And Sabo immediately just cheered, because Bandits just cheered that Ace would leave them. Luffy says he's willing to go hunt, and they could have a group dinner if that works. And they'll immediately just cheer for Luffy. And Garp's glad that he had a compromise. So Luffy can live in his house, that was a bit on the edge of the forest in Fuchsia. And here's actually where he would train Ace and Sabo. And they do know he's older than him, and now he's very strict, too. He's very, polite, but also very serious. So, yeah, so when it comes to training, Luffy is not, holding him back at all. He proceeds to basically beat the mess out of them, as his strength is already outmatching most grown men. The only reason that Shanks can outmatch Luffy's physical strength is literally just Haki. That is it. The only way that Shanks found out to outmatch Luffy's physical strength for his age. And because, if Shanks would use a regular punch, Luffy could catch it with his bare hand and not be fazed by it. If Shanks used every ounce of strength he had. But if we were to put 12-year-old Luffy against Shanks, when Luffy be 22, if we would put, Shanks 10 years from now, try going to punch Luffy in the face, Luffy tried to catch it, he'd break his whole hand. Probably even more than that. But Luffy's physical strength is insane. Either way. Even Garp struggles to actually outmatch Luffy's physical strength sometimes. But that's only if he just has to treat him like a grandson, not like an enemy. Alright, so we go forward now. Basically just to, around the time 2 weeks would pass, and Ace and Sabo had to be running across the beach line and screaming. Luffy's wondering what they're doing. This gave him a day off from training, as he's just training all day by himself. The days that he has off would be the days he trains Ace and Sabo. The days that they have off are the day he trains himself. Or the 7 days a week, they get 4 days off. So yeah. But basically, as they're running, Luffy sees running from seeing Porchemi, and then right as Porchemi has to hit Sabo in the face with his sword. So then the sword's blocked by something. And basically Luffy who caught the blade with just 2 fingers. And Luffy just the sword in the air immediately, and the blade snapped in half. Before Porchemi knew it, Luffy kicked like half the blade that he had in his 2 fingers into Porchemi's shoulder. But Luffy had to tap in the bigger side of the blade, so it cut off Porchemi's arm completely. Porchemi would yell in pain, and Luffy would just look at them. And they basically attack Luffy as a group. So they attack Luffy, like all Blue Gems guys attack Luffy as Porchemi's guys attack Luffy as a group. They are Blue Gems guys, but who cares? As they attack Luffy as like a group, Luffy just basically kind of beat them all to a pulp without really hesitating. As they're not matching Luffy's Hakuda, which is basically just almost, well, I believe the correct term for the ability that Luffy would have for the, we'll go over like Toshiro's abilities that aren't Shikai or Bankai. Basically, he's a child prodigy, which Luffy is as well. That's why he's so strong and fast and skilled. He's a master strategist and tactician, plus he has really high intuition. The point where Luffy's is almost near precognition because he can already use Haki on some scale. He's a master swordsman, everybody says that. He's also a Kido expert. He can use Bakudo, barrier techniques, and Hado and Kaido, which is healing, blasting, barriers, and binding. He can use a lot more techniques, but I'll just say, he would use a blast Kido, a binding, like a Kido binding, and Kido healing. He would just use that kind of stuff. I'll just say it like that. Hell, you can call him Master if you want, because Luffy molds it into blasts. And he also would use heal, but it would make his opponent or make his ally pass out. It would make the healing go faster if they do pass out, though. Luffy has Shunpo, which allows him to move faster, but he's not a master of it, like Kisuke or Yoriichi. Like, he's not a master, but he's really good with it. However, we can make like 2-3 after images pretty easily that still somewhat have attacks that do a little bit of effect, but it's more or less very low, very, very little shockwave than actual attack. There's Hakudo, which is just really good martial arts, and Luffy's nearly a master of it. We have super endurance, which basically allows him to take a lot of pain. Like hell, Garp even struggles to face Luffy. Like he struggles to hit Luffy and like full out, and Luffy like he struggles to actually make Luffy feel the pain. Not feel it, but struggles to make Luffy react to it, which allows him to push through battle like a tank, which he's really good at. So yeah. Then he has Hyorin Maru, which is just Ice Ring, and it resembles a regular katana. And so Luffy pretty easily just messes up Porchemi's whole group. By the end of it, they do retreat and come back like 4 days later with Blue Jam. And because Porchemi's missing an arm, and Blue Jam has also fought Luffy before. Luffy's been in the Great Terminal longer than Sabo has. He hasn't had Hyorin Maru as long. But Luffy perfected his martial arts through fighting Blue Jam and his whole crew a lot before Porchemi even joined. We can consider Porchemi a new recruit at this point, though. Alright. We'll go on basically to, probably just... Blue Gem's trying to fight Luffy now. Blue Gem hasn't fought Luffy for a long time. But Luffy's proceeded to just charge at them all and just decimate them. So, yeah. So Luffy just kind of just decimate the whole crew. So as he just decimates them, we can probably go on now to a few months later. It happened to be Great Terminal Fire, but Luffy also taught Sabo an ace the value of just working hard for your money, and not to moving off Luffy, who gets a few jobs. And the Great Terminal happens to be bounty hunting a few small petty thieves. Or people who don't pay their rent, stuff like that. So, yeah. So with this, we go on basically to, we're going to go on to, just, I guess the Great Terminal Fire. When that had happened, Luffy would immediately rush around using Shunpo to actually use a bit of his speed to actually put out the flames for like temporary means. So he already found Dragon by accident. But then Luffy says he can put out the flames temporarily if they can find a permanent solution in the little time that he has. And Ivan immediately says he has an idea. So Luffy will put out the flame before Ivan would jump to the dock, to the shore, and immediately just yell "Death Wink." He'd use it, and Luffy's actually able to put his hand out and stop a lot of the wind from hitting the people that are hiding behind him. And his body uses actually as like a giant wind barrier, but all flames are put out by the Death Wink. With this, the Great Fire is put out in a span of a few days. Dragonfly and Luffy actually challenge him to a fight, wanting to see how strong Luffy is. Luffy fight him, and Dragon already deems Luffy probably in the upper echelon of the revolutionaries if he were to join. And with this, Luffy, already called Dragon, probably stronger than Garp is. With Shark, Ace, and Sabo, Luffy fights Garp almost every time they meet, and Garp walks away sweating. That's just how strong Luffy is. But with this, Luffy would just actually tell Sabo that the revolutionary ideals are more lined up with Sabo's, and Luffy and Ace still want to be pirates. As Luffy just doesn't like government standings, but he also doesn't really want to enact his whole dream on defeating them. So he wouldn't join the revolutionaries, but his dream ideals are more or less aligned with being a pirate than anything else. For the Bleach What Ifs, Luffy's dreams are more lined up with being a pirate because of the situation and nothing else. It's the situation for a lot of my Luffy What Ifs, actually. I believe I have a little over 90, actually One Piece What Ifs. I have a lot of them. But yeah, so Luffy would basically have, he would have Sabo actually just, go Dragon, but Sabo would have to write them at least every month or so. At least twice a month. And so Sabo does that, so it works out. Whenever he does it around Dragon, let's say, Sabo can't message them twice every month, but he can try to get them out at least, one letter every, 2 letters every 2 months. So, 1 letter a month. Or 2 letters in 1 month, but they have to be very spread out. Or if Sabo, has urgent letters, Kaido himself will just deliver it. But, yeah. Sabo looks the same training as in Canon, but a bit earlier, actually. So, he has a few extra weeks. Not that it'll make a difference, but still, it's pretty good. But Luffy does train the Ace even harder. It's actually when Luffy off days that the Ace would comically have, he doesn't have any off days. But Luffy said would try to train with him pretty, Luffy doesn't go a bit easier on him, but he still does train Ace a lot more. So yeah. So yeah. So we can go on now basically to, I'd say, probably, just when Ace is 17. And Luffy is already 19 at this point, but Luffy wanted to make sure that when Ace leaves, Ace is as strong as he is, he needs to be without Luffy abandoning him. Well, abandoning him, but yeah. At this point, Luffy and Ace already had plenty of jobs. When him and Toshiro Dragon, Luffy was assigned as his guard. And Luffy did such a good job of helping him, just avoid rubble and everything. This is when Luffy touches him, he's actually terrified of it, but not terrified of it. He hates it until Luffy just helps him avoid any trouble, and he's kind of like a puddle something. When he gets back on the ship after maybe 2 weeks or so, 1. Luffy's just coldness of Hiyori Maru eliminates almost every sense of smell. So Luffy Dragon has his clothes clean, and he didn't smell bad in any shape or form. Luffy's a pretty good cook. He cooks for 2 picky children. He cooked for 2 picky children almost for 7 straight years, or mainly 1 because Sabo left after a few months. But yeah. Luffy's a pretty good bodyguard to the point where Luffy Dragon paid him almost 200 million berries. So yeah, Ace helped him and Ace got a paycheck of 80 million berries. He wasn't as good of a guard, but in terms of combat with a few people who wanted him dead, Ace did pretty good. So, yeah. Compared to the original pay, supposed to be 20 million berries. But yeah. Now with this, we go on basically to when Luffy was at sail. He bought his own ship, saving up money from almost every job he's had for the last little over a decade, 13 or so years. He does jobs in Fuchsia, the Great Terminal, occasionally a few for the bandits, and a lot in the Go Kingdom. Hell, even some for the king. So yeah, Luffy did actually think about buying a good ship, but he tried to settle down for a ship that could get him around the East Blue if he wanted to, because he mainly wanted to explore. So Luffy bought this boat. Luffy still looks like he's 12 years old, which he doesn't really mind. He only minds if people make jokes and he doesn't know them. So yeah. With Luffy's in his boat, he would basically just sit around the East Blue for a bit. And his first stop happened to be at a small town in Orangetown. As he's here, he buys a few things. The villagers actually ask him, should kid really be out at sea on his own? But he reveals to them that he's only, to them all, he's 19 years old. He's not, 12. Which really just shocked them, but they didn't believe it. Luffy even has an ID because, he also does a bit of bounty hunting. And he gets a bit more pay if he actually reveals that he does this legally. So, yeah. It also reduces the chance of him getting an actual bounty. So with this, he shows his license, and yeah, he's legally 19 years old. But it doesn't show his full name, just Luffy. So yeah, so with this we go on now to probably just around 3 or 4 months later. Luffy's hunted down a number of pirate crews, and Orangetown was even placed under protection after some clown, literally, tried to take it over. Luffy can arrest him and sell him to the smoker. Not sell him, but give him the smoker, but still, he gave half the credit to the villagers for, like, keeping him away. And they did get a bit of Buggy's bounty, not all of it because they didn't like, catch him, but they still did pretty good to him for just being a quote-unquote small town. Or common small town. And they're also recently founded, so they have little ton of resources. But how much money Luffy has, he'll help them build up the town a bit more. So, yeah. But then Luffy sells around a bit more, and with this town under protection, Luffy basically has how do I phrase this? A condition. Every 6 months, they give him at least 8% of their profits. And they agree to this as they mainly trade constantly. So every 6 months, giving him 8% would do okay. They make a little over 10 million berries. So hold up. So Luffy basically gets 600,000 berries. I think this is okay for him. It's almost 1 million, which pretty sure the common salary is like maybe 4.25 million yen. So Luffy has like under the common salary, but still enough to buy a few decent things. Alright, going forward again, we go on now to Luffy when he's now 20 years old. He's 20, stopped by Start Village. He even found basically found a news coup. This news coup had been carrying a letter that happened to go to it was supposed to be a letter. We stopped when the news coup was dying. He was basically just sick. Luffy found the news coup, took a letter from it, found out it was from the Red crew. Luffy found out what address they were at, took them a letter, and it was basically him with another news coup telling him that then the news coup was sick and died. But he'll deliver the letter to Usopp. This happened in the span of like a week or so. Shanks' crew was about to leave right as the letter had arrived. They read it, and they heard what happened, and who signed it then? This would be dangerous for them until they see who signed it, saying Luffy. I thought it was pretty much coincidence, but it was cool. They're back, and they even gave Luffy basically, we're gonna head here next if you want to write us, so go ahead. This Luffy had to Start Village, gave Usopp a letter from Usopp, and letter strictly told Usopp not to write back, as Luffy didn't know that he didn't read it. It's not his mail, but still. All right, so with this we go on again. Luffy actually hanging out with Usopp a bit more, and at this point as they're leaving, they basically come across a ship being attacked by Marines, or a Marine ship being attacked by pirates, more or less. But Luffy and Usopp are kind of watching this. It's late at night, and it's about like 3 a.m. And Luffy's ship was just drifting. We didn't mind it, but still. Luffy moored after Usopp had screamed in just shock. At this point, it's 2 years before the story. Usopp's 15, Luffy's 20, and he's what's going on, saying, "Oh, he has it." He pulls out the sword, comes onto the water, and he just runs full speed ahead. He's just wondering how he touched the water. The sword grants spiritual pressure. Luffy uses that. So Luffy basically appeared in the middle of the flames. The flames had disappeared. Luffy actually asked them to know what they're doing. The Marines recognized Luffy as a bounty hunter, as he's cashing a few bounties all across the east. But immediately Morgan didn't know who Luffy was, as he's honestly just hysteric and terrified. As he lost his hand he lost his hand recently, he's bleeding out everywhere. Luffy's gonna grab him by the wound and just froze it shut, and then froze it over. Kuro would attack him, and Luffy cut Kuro in half immediately, leading him to die, and then Luffy defeats to cut down Kuro's whole crew, including Morgan's crew as they attack him. They thought he hurt Morgan. Luffy does reveal that he healed Morgan's hand instead, or probably stopped the bleeding from it. And they do thank him. So they don't report that Luffy attacked them, they say that Kuro's crew attacked them, but they give Morgan the credit and not Luffy, which he does hate, actually. Because he's the one that stopped Kuro and killed him. Bounty's dead or alive, and he's returned the body because he's on a burning marine ship. It looked bad for him. He's too tired to actually even use a Shikai to freeze the flames. He honestly just used spiritual pressure to make them disperse, but they came back immediately. Yeah. So we can go on now, probably to, I'd say, just a few months later, where Luffy happened to be going to a sword basis. I think just a island maybe that's supposedly made by the sword. Luffy's here, he's honestly just here to buy a blade sharpener. He had one, but his basically ended up not doing too well anymore, as there's a lot of scrapes on it, and doesn't repair a sword. But as he's here, he would eventually see the dojo, and walk up to it. Toshiro asks Luffy is a new student. Luffy says, no, he's actually a current sword master. He's also 20 years old, so he doesn't need training. Toshiro just was shocked, but some of the kids were a bit rude to Luffy, and Luffy threatened to cut their heads off. But Zoro didn't believe Luffy at all, and attacked him. But, not attacked him, but told him to, fight me. And Luffy's like, okay, sure, I'll fight you. So Zoro and Luffy would fight, and Luffy proceeds to basically one-shot Zoro with a kick to the chest, and almost caved in Zoro's chest. But Zoro was unconscious, and Luffy won the fight. And that's just end of Luffy and Zoro's interaction. But Luffy was there for a few months, actually learning like a whole new sword style. And while he does this, we can go on forward again, all over again. I would say, the next part being, does Luffy leave around 2 months later? As he would leave, he actually would request that Zoro go with him. At this point, it's the story, and Zoro is about to turn 16. Not 16, he's about to turn 17. He's currently 16. And Zoro's like Koshiro's like, you're stronger than me currently, I don't think it matters. Your sword style isn't my sword style. When it comes to what I'm teaching you, you already know a majority of it. You learn it all out at sea either way. What I do request is that you stay safe. And, Zoro said okay. So he goes with Luffy. So, yeah. So, we can probably go on now to, I don't know, honestly. We'll probably go on to, I honestly don't know where to go now. I'm going to probably just Luffy, Usopp, and Zoro leaving. Because Zoro's stronger and also a bit more trustworthy than Usopp is, Usopp does use a lot of tricks. Not that Luffy doesn't trust him, but Usopp's tricks are a bit weird in battle, as they've fought a few random crews. So Zoro's vice captain, and Usopp doesn't mind that, actually. It puts him in less danger. But they're sitting around for a bit, and eventually they're on a random island, and Zoro happens to be asleep on the ship until he heard, a small bit of rustling. He got up and just immediately went below deck and pointed the sword at a girl's throat. But Luffy immediately comes up the sword, as Zoro didn't see Luffy there at all, he didn't sense him. Well, Zoro actually was Luffy giving away, so much money to this random girl. But now he happened to be crying a little bit, and just honestly joy, and Zoro could tell. Luffy had given her over 100 million berries. His Luffy has a little over 1 billion, actually. From dedicated to work, and mixing in with bounty hunting people all across the east, the south, and the Calm Belt even. Luffy's rich. Now let me count the baller eyes out. And Luffy even escorts her to Arlong, as he just actually hides in Arlong, he hides in Arlong Park. At this point, Nami had recently turned, I would say, 16. But yeah, so while he's here, he kind of spies on Nami as she gives money to Arlong, but he immediately put a gun at her head, asking her how she got all this. There's no way this is real money. He eventually does, he doesn't count it and does realize it's all real money, but he just tells her, get 100 more. He doesn't believe that she got all this much money in such a short amount of time. And, yeah. And basically, when Luffy saw this, as soon as it came nighttime and Nami was in her room just upset crying, and Arlong tried to walk up to the room with everyone else asleep or gone. As soon as Arlong got in the doorway, Luffy put a sword to his throat, and before Arlong knew it, his blood ended up covering the hallway. Luffy just walked down the stairs as he actually would freeze Nami's door shut. He was going to give these fishermen the coldest and iciest death ever. One person that didn't die is Hachi and Kurubi and Chu, as they weren't here. But as soon as Hachi, Kurubi, and Chu tried to arrive, Zoro and Usopp already sitting outside the gates. You see, Chu ran afraid of Usopp thinking his weak link, and Chu went in for the obvious attack. But Luffy is teaching Usopp Hakudo, or Hakuda, I forget the name, pretty sure Hakuda. But Usopp immediately just kind of use one hand, kind of flipped it up, and then kicked Chu right in the jaw, and immediately broke it. Only for Chu to flip, and then, for Usopp to flip with his other hand and nail him in the temple with basically just his heel. And Chu got knocked out from that. Without landing, he would charge straight at Kurubi, asking Zoro for help. Zoro would avoid as Kurubi and immediately went in for a punch, trying to use switching karate, only for him to be impaled straight through the arm, with Zoro using his Wado. Zoro then pulls his blade up, and he destroys, basically destroying any movement in Kurubi's arm permanently. Then Usopp would basically just use his slingshot, but it wouldn't hit Kurubi right in the Adam's apple, crushing it. Then would follow a flurry of blows, knocking him out. Then Kurubi realizes how easily these two work together and how good they are, and he just retreats. Luffy just feel Usopp's confidence with just him learning a few basic techniques to take out anyone, which is hitting Kurubi in the Adam's apple with a wooden slingshot, which would hurt with how thick we've seen that thing is. It's more like a branch, but not like a twig. It's like a good branch. Like, if you were swimming quickly, it wouldn't make a noise, but it would actually hurt still if you got hit by it. Leave a bruise for a few weeks unless you have Usopp's level of physical strength, which should grow decently in the last few months. Like, Usopp, if you were to put it in, like, the rankings for superhuman that would be given for, like, CP9 members, obviously people probably in the millions in One Piece verse. Luffy's one of those people in the millions. Because currently, he's probably as strong as every single warlord besides Mihawk. Luffy's even offered to become a warlord. But Luffy hasn't really gotten the letter yet, as someone ate it. So yeah, this is a whole new letter. But yeah, we can go on with Luffy leaving, and we'll invite Nami aboard, saying that he would need a navigator. And Luffy already cleaned all the bodies, but she didn't see a bit of blood, but Luffy didn't clean up. Hachi's also got away, so yeah. But Nami really says she owes Luffy and she'll join. Because Luffy's not a pirate, he doesn't have a bounty, he's a bounty hunter. But yeah, so we basically go forward now a whole another year when Luffy's 21 years old. Luffy basically is now a warlord officially. There's no frozen bounty, it is just that he's so skilled and also revealed to be Garp's grandson. Garp even told Son Goku that he struggled to beat Luffy even when Luffy was a kid. Hell, he went easy on him because he was a kid, but that made Garp still sweat, as Garp could beat a decent amount of vice admirals all at once by going easy on them without using haki. They can do all the haki they want, and Garp would probably beat all of them. So yeah. Or where was I? I forgot. Oh yeah, so as they leave, not as they leave. It's been a year now. Luffy's a warlord, and he's met all the warlords. He's even been to a few meetings. All admirals are watching. Not all admirals. Everyone's there. It's their first meeting as a group with everyone attending equally. And Luffy hasn't told anyone's age. He lets everyone think he's 12 years old. So his name, Boa, has been meeting for the first time in a few months actually. She hasn't met Luffy at all. His first few meetings, Luffy skipped because he was honestly too far away. They're like, oh, we're meeting so-and-so here, and it happens here. It's like, oh, well, I'm going to be late because I'm all the way halfway across the South Blue. And they're like, okay, you can skip this one, we'll update you through letter. So, yeah. Luffy also, on the rare meetings he attends, happens to be like, oh, you arrive late, but he'll meet with Sengoku, or meet with Kong, or meet with so-and-so Vice Admiral, or Rear Admiral, or Commodore who's leading the meeting. Luffy does actually update Dragon on some of this. Because Dragon, Luffy talks to Karasu. He talks Sabo a lot too. So yeah. I'm gonna go over all Luffy's just ways he's earned money throughout the years now. As the Marines they know he does this, but they know he does some of it, but they don't know what everything he does. The only thing they know that he does is he takes profit from some countries that he's saved. So yeah. So Luffy basically takes down crews. And he let someone take half the bounty if they helped him. But the other half bounty he would get. If he did most of the work, he'd take you can get 45%, I'll take the other 55. So yeah. Or if there's a hostage, they'll be like, okay, I take 45, you take 45, they can get the other 5. Or get the other 10, whatever, I don't care. I can't do math right now, it's too late. Then Luffy also has islands give him 15% of their profit, or occasionally 20 if they're a whole kingdom that he saved and they're a pretty good kingdom. Happens every 6 months though. And Luffy clears out all black market activity and takes down the enforcers. Then with the enforcers he takes down, he will set up arms deals between some people, and then take down the arms dealers and the buyers. Take the arms and the money. So yeah, he's taking down a deal that was between Big Mom and Kaido, but he beat up both the enforcers that happened to be just some random nobody homies. And then some random crew but happened to be some beast pirates that were under Kaido that aren't even gifters. Luffy just cut them down immediately. But no, Luffy only knows that some guy robbed them. So yeah. But we can go on now to when Luffy's around I guess almost 22, a few months before the start of the story. The story started in early mid-May. At this point it's mid-February. And Luffy's sitting on some island in paradise. Until a reindeer would jump on Luffy's shoulders, calling big bro Luffy. Luffy ends up hitting the head of the said animal, and Luffy just tells Chopper to get off of him. Chopper would do so, and Chopper actually asks Luffy doesn't need any medicine, as Nami's currently sick. They're on the garden for a month. And Luffy just says, no, he's good. Nami's getting better. And with this, Luffy was about to leave in Alabasta, as he was attacked by someone on Little Garden. It happened to actually be Crocodile. Well, Crocodile told them to attack, but who attacked him happened to be Mr. One, and Luffy pretty easily messed him up. And yeah, this Crocodile honestly didn't like Luffy as a warlord. Crocodile hasn't attended a warlord meeting in almost 2 years. He doesn't know who Luffy is. All he knows is some kid. But Hancock has met Luffy before. It turned out he was 21 when she met him. And she has a little crush on him, actually. But because Luffy looks like a kid, it's going to be weird. So yeah. But eventually Luffy would leave Drum Island and occasionally ask Chopper to join him, as he needs a doctor at sea. Luffy learned a few things from him, but still he would need Chopper. And Chopper agrees to go with Luffy. Because he knows him very well, he knows the whole crew very well. The whole crew consisting of Usopp, Nami, and Zoro. Or Usopp, Zoro, and Nami if you want to go in order. Basically with Chopper, Luffy does decide to actually take down the Broke Works, because they're a bit annoying, and she tells the government what Crocodile's doing. But he says he'll do it on his own in exchange for Crocodile's bounty if he were active. It's a hard bargain, but they bump it up to roughly around 130 million, putting him as an active pirate, which he would actually not care about until he's defeated. So yeah. Luffy basically just invades Whiskey Peak all the way back to Alabasta. Well, Zoro made Whiskey Peak and cut down everyone in his way. He already knew it was full of bounty hunters. Then, with help of Usopp, he's able to take down a few million and billions. And Nami sticks with Chopper by using a climb attack that Usopp had built using materials that he'd found across the way, like the east, the south, Paradise. They've been to Jaya already too. They just haven't been to Skypia. So yeah, now with this, Luffy would eventually go on and end up going all the way over to what was it? We can go on to I don't know. Really go on probably just now, just Luffy versus the numbers. Zoro went by himself to Whiskey Peak. He came back recently, but Luffy's already in the middle fighting the numbers. He found Vivi, and Vivi immediately went to go fight Koza, as Chopper and Usopp had infiltrated the what was it? Yeah, the guards and the rebels. And Luffy had basically he kind of helped Usopp disguise himself. Chopper helped disguise himself by Usopp, and they were able to infiltrate both of them individually and save them from Broke Works. As Usopp about Koza, Koza, these guys had Broke Works tattoos, and Broke Works is in charge of warlord, and then there's a rogue warlord that kidnapped the king. And Usopp made some certain points that Koza was like, "Hey, you're right. This would have happened." So he tells everyone with these tattoos, tells us guys, in case there's the ones that don't have the tattoos, saying, "Let's find people with these tattoos, kill them on sight, no matter who they are." And his crew would do so, as every single rebel killed members of Broke Works. Chopper tells the same thing to the guards, and the guards would eliminate them immediately. Chopper described himself as a royal steed. So yeah. And with this, eventually Luffy found all the numbers, and he's fighting Robin all the way up to Mr. 11 minus Vivi and Mr. 9 and Miss Monday and Mr. 8. Being Miss Monday being the giant buff woman that Zoro squeezed her head. Mr. 8 being Igaram, Mr. 9 being the guy with the crown that has a daughter with Miss Monday, and then Mr. 9's partner being Vivi. I'm pretty sure Igaram's partner is Miss Monday actually. But everyone else besides those four, Luffy beats up pretty easily. He goes down to 11, 10, skip 9 and 8 to get their partners too, and he's got them all down pretty effortlessly. By the time he's done, he didn't get hit once, and Robin just sees how strong Luffy is. Luffy starts her down and says, you're Nico Robin, right?" And suddenly an Inusuka would call out Luffy before landing on his shoulder, and he gets a letter from it. And this letter, and it basically shows off, Nico Robin has been revealed to work with Crocodile. If you were to find her, turn her into the Marines. Luffy would immediately just tell her what the letter says, and she got nervous as she tries to use clutch on Luffy. But she tries to use clutch on Luffy, well, it didn't work, his neck didn't even budge. So yeah, Luffy basically kind of froze the letter, and it just poofed into just, shards. And as the Inusuka went away, and then Luffy just proceeds to just charge straight at Robin before telling her, he whispers in her ear before knocking her out, saying, "My ship is docked so-and-so here. Here, come find it once you're knocked out, once we go from being knocked out." And then with that, he basically hit her in the neck with a swift chop, knocking her out, and Luffy goes find Crocodile. Crocodile would attack Luffy to impale him on the hook. When he tried to, his hook almost shattered. Luffy is that durable. He has a Soul Reaper body. He still grants him the abilities of a Soul Reaper without giving him the clothing of a Soul Reaper. The soul is imbued with the spiritual pressure of Toshiro. He is like Luffy's like the reincarnation of like his, so like how to phrase this. Luffy would get Koshiro's abilities until he gets to the sword. The sword is also imbued with his power. Like, he's the reincarnation of the sword and Luffy, or the sword and Luffy are like the reincarnation of Toshiro. Oh, like not fuck. How to phrase this? Toshiro's the reincarnation of, or Luffy's the reincarnation of Toshiro in terms of just ability. The sword is the reincarnation of his spiritual pressure. That's the best way to put it. So, yeah. Crocodile would attack Luffy, and Luffy just knows he's a warlord, so he can't go easy on him. When Crocodile would attack him, Luffy just uses Shikai and throws him. He would usually use like basically the technique is called Tensho or Tenso Jirin, which allows him to basically just control the water in the atmosphere. He uses just free Crocodile completely. So Crocodile being frozen, Luffy just like kind of cracks all the ice as it just like, turns back into sand, but he's unconscious. And with Luffy not being devil fruit because he doesn't need one, the Gomu Money doesn't exist here because there'd be no need for it. Luffy just kind of goes find the guards, and it's very rare that this happens, but because of their being an elite kingdom, they have Sea Stone. Now the Crocodile's fully reformed and tries to escape. He just handcuffs the Sea Stone, and he's held in a cell. So are all the guys, as they're just bounded by heavy chains and everything, and like held halfway in water. Only thing above the water is their head. So, Really dull for each, that is. Luffy found Bone Clay's ability useful, and Robin's also useful. So he'd say you take Robin and Bone Clay and leave. And he says, for every bounty you get of these guys, I want at least 20% of it. And he says that he's willing to come back here and protect them no matter how far in the world he is. And if they want that, he wants at least 9% of the money they earn every 6 months. Cobra thought that is reasonable. He's like, he doesn't want 50%. No, he wants 9%. That's shocking, but sure. Honestly, just because he's friends with Vivi, he'll make a discount. So yeah. With this, not only just like find a bank, like find a nearby bank, find their account, and set up a whole new system for it. We should check the account in almost 3 months or so. The accountant just her jaw drops at how many zeros she sees. Robin says, "Oh, how much money is it?" So look at the account, and her jaw dropped too. There's not even Crocodile how much money. And Luffy says, "Oh, how much money is it?" And he says, "Oh, 100 billion. Something more." He turns away, and then they say, "You don't need more, you need less. That's too much money to be in one bank." He says, "No worries. Any bank they visit, from South Blue to Calm Belt to East, Paradise, they hold all this money. But he withdraws, saying, "All right, our ship's big enough to hold this much money. This is going Mary still. It's a bit upgraded going Mary." This says, this will use this ship to carry 3 billion berries, and they do that. His bounty is almost not bounty. His money is almost worth everything that Big Mom has. Almost, not quite there yet. He's like 0.346 billion off, or 1.346 billion off. But yeah. Well, they leave and they go forward. But we go on now, like a few months later, and the Mary needs a bit of an upgrade. Well, not upgrade. They need a bit of repairs, and Usopp doesn't have any more tools. And they also went back to collect some of their money from Cobra, so they head all the way back to East Blue to get tools from Mary directly. And on the way out, they found the Bratier. That happens to be they arrive there before Full Body and Gin do. On the way there, they do find Full Body, and they pretty easily destroy his whole marine ship. As if he had announced that he's leaving the warlords, which did actually shock them all. Even Boa Hancock is a bit depressed, as she gave Luffy just 40% of Amazon Lily's wealth every few months. The fact that she's attracted to Luffy is about it. A lot of his money just comes from her in Alabasta now, but still. But Luffy basically just told them he's leaving the warlords, the fact that they don't be an eye on the warlords, and that they'd be doing the most heinous shit possible, and they won't know about it. So with this, Luffy leaving and his bounty now being made active, as he never had a bounty before entering the warlords, his bounty ends up shooting up, and because, he never had a bounty until now, and he's been a pirate for this point 3 years. I'm a pirate, but not considered a pirate. He's in a Mihawk situation, but he also flies a Jolly Roger for fun. So he's considered a pirate despite him being more like Mihawk than anything else. So his bounty is basically being raised to roughly about 80 or so million as his quote unquote first bounty. So yeah. he has an 80 million bear bounty. And with how how at this point what it is, Luffy's 22 years old currently. They find Sanji, and the Brautier also as well. And Luffy told him about his dream, my dream is to basically turn this hat to someone that is to turn on power, but I need to get the hat back. Luffy Sanji talk, Luffy tells Sanji, you're not going to find the all blue by staying here. You're not even going to enter the calm belt yet. So I recommend you set sail with me. And so Sanji would do so. So yeah. Let's set sail over again, heading past Whiskey Peak, which is now inherited by still the same bounty hunters, but they're all pretty calm now. Mission 9 and Miss Monday they announced that they're pregnant too. Or they're expecting a child. Condor and Bissy, Dora, and Braga hang out with them for a bit. They leave. Then find Alabasta getting a bit of money from Cobra again. And then they head to Jaya. While they're heading to Jaya, they'd find the giant figures. Luffy just saying how scared his crew is. He's not being too scared about it, but he's seen this before, so he's a bit he's weary of it, but not terrified, like his crew is. But he would use Shikai, and immediately basically use pretty sure the technique is called Roku Yo Katsudojin, which is basically just a giant ice pillar trap. And the figures aren't trapped as Luffy does, really these are just shadows. And it'll scare them, wondering where they came from, but still. One of the pillars actually hit something in the sky, and it fell down, crushing all the pillars. It was just a giant ship. Luffy moved into the air, just creating a lot of ice in the water. As when the ship had landed, Luffy just made sure it didn't sink. And his crew collected anything that sank below the ice. But there wasn't much. Mainly a picture frame and a few straps of the ship. They collect whatever parts of the ship are good. And they went collecting a bit of the ship as dragging it along to Jaya, where they sell it to some guys this ship can sell for a lot of money. We'll buy it from you for this much money. It was alright, cool, we'll take it. So yeah. Now with this, they go on. They hang out in Water 7, Jaya for a bit. Then they're thinking about Skypia, but Luffy doesn't believe it exists. But then one Nami's come on, it couldn't hurt to try. He's fine, we'll ask someone here if they think it exists. No one thinks it exists, they eventually wander around, they find Cricket. And Cricket's oh yeah, it exists, I know it. Talks about how they can get up there being a knock-up stream. And he talks about how it happens every few days. He's alright, cool, we'll wait. And Cricket told him, it should happen anytime soon. They're out to sea, then as soon as they get to the area, they're knocked up in the sky. So yeah, in Skype, they use this word, but when they get to Skype, the checkout area, Luffy just jumps through the white sea via rope. Then lets the bird go. He's so short that his hand barely poked out of it. The bird got away. Luffy's then pulled back up, and he pays the entrance fee. So yeah, he paid it. So yeah. So with this, we go on now, just the meeting Paglia and Konis. And Luffy and Konis got on pretty well, actually. So, But Luffy and Konis do flirt a bit. Sanji's a bit annoyed by that. Konis honestly thought Luffy was cute, but then when she found out he was 22, it was a bit harder, which got a bit touchy. Luffy does hate being treated like a kid, so anytime he has a chance to act like an adult with another adult, he'll take it, no matter what it is. It was pretty serious, but also very easily flattered. So, yeah. And not as a blush that Luffy won't flirt with her. Luffy's known her since she was 16, so it's a bit weird for him. You're 19 when I met you. I was 19 when I met you. You were 16. It's a bit weird. And I was it's okay in some parts. And he's I don't care. Something that's not okay in my part. So yeah. So yeah. So with this, we can go on probably to we can probably go on maybe to just I don't know. Probably just them her hearing about Onell, what he can do. So Luffy just goes and fights Onell, actually. Luffy says whoever wants can come with him. And Bon Clay and Robin say they're going to do a few things. So yeah. With this, Bon Clay and Robin go with Luffy immediately, wanting to. Bon Clay just for fun, and then Robin just because she wants to find history. No, Usopp wants to go for some reason as Bon Clay, just for a bit of adventure in the fight. Zoro goes because Luffy's going. Sanji goes because Zoro's going, and yeah. Nami doesn't want to go at all, but Luffy's we're leaving you kind of alone, and if Onell knows we're coming, he'd attack you. And then Nami's I don't want to be attacked, so I'll go with you. She kind of cleans Luffy like glue, so yeah. So with this, Luffy is pretty easily able to clear his way through all of Onell's guys. And eventually, also Chopper right at him. Chopper is just clinging to Robin like glue. So yeah, hold up real quick. Alright. So, Luffy versus Onell, Luffy can just use his Shikai and constantly just blocking out Lightning. Luffy controls the water in the atmosphere, which he can just freeze insanely hard. And also can create just raw ice, so yeah, Onell kind of has all his attacks negged, and he can barely pierce through Luffy's ice. At the best, he can melt like half of it. Like if Luffy makes like a pillar, Onell can melt half the pillar. So yeah, but Luffy just proceeds to go in and just dominate. Because given the numbers, Luffy would just use ice to get Onell, and Onell can't really avoid the ice at all. Luffy decides that she'd smoothly just freeze Onell over, but use a thin layer of ice and just use the water in there to actually drown Onell. This is weird about what Onell did, so made a thin layer of dome around Onell, filled it with water, so it was waist deep, and Onell couldn't use his devil fruit. Or he could, but it'd be very poor. And at the best, he'd conduct the water, and that wouldn't do anything to him, but it wouldn't do anything to the ice either. So Luffy made extra layers of just around the ice, except for the inside. When Onell tries to get out, the water would go lower, but then Luffy creates more water, and Onell just drowns. So, yeah. It was very slow, but it happened. But Luffy picks up Onell's fruit, and gives her Nami. She asks why he's giving it to her, but Luffy says, well, Onell was just a fool who happened to know he can get a lot of power from lightning itself, not anything that'd make lightning especially more powerful. Like, yeah, he made it powerful, but not in a meaningful way. You'd make it meaningful. So Nami being a bit encouraged by this, would actually eat the fruit. And when she eats it, well, she's actually able to how to phrase this? With her knowledge of weather and everything else, she's able to basically, she's able to create a lot more powerful lightning-based attacks. So, yeah. With these lightning-based attacks, it does really well. So, yeah. So we can go on now, basically, to, I'd say, probably just them leaving Skypia. And Nami, with the knowledge of her weather, and also seeing a lot of Onell's attacks go on, she just would watch Luffy just defend them all. Well, she already has every experience of Onell with the fruit, or every skill of Onell with the fruit, which gives her almost all the experience, so it works out. She's already almost halfway to getting an awakening. So yeah, like by the time it comes to post time skip, she'd already have almost be there to an awakening. And Luffy already hears about how Skypia uses Haki, so Luffy can already use observation now, and has better control over Conquerors, so he can use it to knock out roughly about, he went from like 100 at the age of I would say, at the age of 12, he already knocked out 100 people with Conquerors and molded it into blasts. And Luffy at the age of 22 could already knock out roughly around 13,000 people and mold it into stronger blasts. So yeah, that's Luffy's skill of Haki. Rather than leave Jaya, let's go to the Skypia, then head to Water 7. Well, they're here. CP9 is still here, though. And Luffy isn't really fazed by them. He knows who they are. He knows almost every aspect of the government. Only thing he doesn't know about is Im-sama. That's about it. And so it came to them. Robin already knows that Luffy's probably stronger than them, as he's pretty strong. So yeah. But Luffy would just proceed to go about. And it came to CP9. Luffy would pretty effortlessly I'd say this. CP9 stands no chance against Luffy, even if they take Robin. Robin didn't go with her, so Luffy does train her in martial arts, and she actually outclassed a decent amount of CP9. The ones that came to take her happened to be Khalifa and Bluno. Robin just ended up flipping Bluno into the corner of a wall. Even if he used Tech Eye, his head had split open. Then when it came to Khalifa trying to fight her with martial arts, Robin outmatched her in martial arts and beat her. So, yeah. So Robin actually ran away, told Luffy what happened. And if they were to come for Robin again, Luffy kind of hid in the shadows. And it was Luffy and Kaku this time, but Luffy beat them both up. Point where they retreat CP9, and the government would just make a statement saying, we're taking Eagle Robin from you. And he goes, okay, sure, but if you take her, you need a Buster Call to stop what I'm going to do to you all. The government takes that bet, taking Robin to Annie's lobby, and they eventually also take Frankie. But Luffy's like, no. All right, so first, you can have a citizen, and then you can have my crewmate. I'm destroying Annie's lobby. So with this, Frankie Hamlin got a law, and Strass would go to Annie's lobby and just decimate it. So, yeah. It came to the Duke Giants, except he's able to make it up to their ears just by running and jumping really high. And they're like, hey, Jordan Brogger are alive, the government lied to you. remember you're like, oh, what do I the government's like, like, pretty sure it's Oimo and Kashi, like, oh, let's BS. I hate the government now, I'll help you. And they destroy Marine ships. Then the struts are pretty easily just decimating all of them. One Clay will like eventually have found like Nero, who the government's like, Lucia, you can't kill him. We need even a bit of numbers. Plus he makes the 9 in CP9. So with this, Bone Clay's will copy his face and sneak into the base. And with this, but kind of spend no, Nero, where were you? And there's like Bone Clay is, and then there's like, I'm sorry, sir. I found this guy who cloned people, who cloned his face. He's really strong, but I beat him. Bone Clay's like, oh, no, Bone Clay, I mean, Spen's like, oh, this is Bone Clay. You did a good job, Nero. Only for him to be kicked in the chest immediately, sent through some flying through the building. And Bone Clay transformed back to normal, picking up Robin and running out at top speeds. Also, my friend Khalifa, who as soon as as Bone Clay tries to fight her, well, he realized that his devil fruit isn't working anymore because Robin's held in C-stone cuffs. But as soon as Khalifa went in for a kick, she's knocked out by something. And it's Nami who just hit her in the back of the head with a staff. And it's just basically make like a mental staff, as Luffy encouraged her to at least have a weapon that isn't based off climate attack only. And the staff is coded in lightning, as Nami also has the actual climate attack still. But the climate attack power is amplified by Nami's devil fruit. So yeah. With this, Khalifa also doesn't have a devil fruit as they didn't find them yet. It's like mid-May at this point. And yeah, it's like mid-May, so Princess Strut's adventure probably end maybe when Luffy is almost not almost, but I say it'd probably end nearing mid late fall. So they're pretty far away from, or they're halfway to what CP9 what arc they should be in right now. It's when Orange Town should be going on. That's how early they are. So at this point, maybe Orange Town at the latest, maybe Whiskey Peak should be going on. But they are months early. So they're doing pretty good actually. But still, we can go on a bit forward. So I would say maybe I don't know honestly. It's a bit complicated. But they leave in his lobby, and Luffy kind of fought off the whole Buster Call itself. The Marine ships firing off just like cannonballs. Luffy just pulled out his sword, used Bankai. No one's ever seen him use Bankai, and make sure that no one's on. Like, you guys evacuate. I'll fight them off by myself. So you don't have to, and then I'll make my way back on his own. Luffy's Bankai and erased every Marine ship that was nearby, and because it was just him doing it, it was a lot more impressive. And by the time he headed back to Enies Lobby, or Watch 7 on his own, well, his new bounty would consist of 330 million, the fact that he took out a whole Buster Call single-handedly. Sure, they already had a lot of Marine ships, but then Luffy proceeds to just destroy a whole Buster Call single-handedly. With the amount of damage that was done by Luffy and how much ice he's creating, which Garp says, yeah, his Supreme Grade sword creates ice. I don't know how, but it does. So, yeah. So, they deem Luffy a pretty high threat right now. Even Mihawk's like, yeah, I'd consider him a threat too. His sword skill's basically second to none besides me. Maybe Shanks, but I don't know. Shanks has better hockey, but Luffy has almost equal skill. Like Mihawk averagely hypes up Luffy, as Luffy and him have fought before. Luffy's fought every warlord before. He's beaten them all besides Mihawk. I don't think other than him didn't really fight more. They have a Conqueror's hockey battle, but he won that because Luffy doesn't use Conquerors too often. So yeah. The next arc would be Flying Triangles. Luffy had a bit more time to spare, and they had a lot bigger of a 1,000 Sunny. Where when Frankie had a whole month to work on it, the ship's just completely massive, and yeah, their ship is able to compete with other supernova ships in size. I don't a comparison for the Sunny and other supernova ships. Hold up. So I believe the size of the Going Merry in meters. I did research on different ships in One Piece for a sec. The size of the Sunny in canon is roughly about 42.5 meters. But then Luffy using a lot of money and resources to ship. Basically, he's like, well, I have months to give, and then it takes weeks from certain kingdoms I have nearby. At the most, the kingdom that take the longest would be my own. But I can ship wood from all places, so you can get more atom wood. It's Frankie's okay, sure, I'll give you 2 weeks. The other time that the story should pick up, well, the whole ship is fully built, as it's now midsummer already. or like late summer, almost the fall. By the time, basically by the time that it's canonically, by the time it should canonically be, by the time it should canonically be the end of what was it, of Water 7, or by the time it's post Water 7, they have the new Thousand Sunny built. It went from like 42.5 canonical meters to now being the size of an actual marine vessel, which is 92 meters. So he told Frankie he wants a ship there that can compete with the Marines. So Frankie built this giant monster with Double Galley Law, Usopp, and a lot more people. Even Mary came to help build the ship. So yeah, he did get an escort back to the village via just like a few paid mercenaries that Luffy knew in this area. So yeah. So yeah. And this they go on to find trying to where they find Brook. But as Luffy ships are going by, they do like hear about what they should do to their bark to get Brook's shadow back. Luffy immediately pressed a button that was just like on like one of the rooms of the ship. The button fired off a giant blast to the side of the area via like a cannon that was a lot bigger than the usual cannon. It was just a giant energy blast. But it hit straight to the center of where Moria and like Oris's body was. Moria's body is just scorched, and Oris's body is just decimated. Also, it hit the center, so it's kind of sinking currently and split in half. So Luffy just jumped down off the boat, saying he'll go help Brook find Shadow, and then Zoro will join him. And Robin just goes with Luffy. So yeah, she kind of goes with Luffy everywhere. He's like her sworn bodyguard. Well, he says he is because everyone wants her badly, and he doesn't. Even this is a warlord currently too. He's also beaten Moria in a fight. It wouldn't matter, but still. Before he's beaten or fought every warlord, and he's won against every warlord besides Doflamingo and Mihawk. So yeah. But basically, they eventually do find Ryuma, and before the fight starts, Zoro says he wants to fight Ryuma. Zoro also got Katsumi Bashiri years ago, before Luffy was even a warlord. He should have a bounty. Smoker also knew him, so he got the swords pretty early. Zoro had these swords for like 2 years by now. So yeah, but in the middle of the fight, Bashiri does get shattered by Ryuma. But Ryuma had used Notch Slash, and Zoro had ended up losing one sword. Zoro had used one sword to block it, and it ended up being Bashiri that was shattered. Not bad. Bashiri shattered. Zoro had to pick up. Shisui like he pried it from Ryuma's hand, and then used Onigiri to cut him in half. So with this, Luffy immediately actually had an idea, saying that Atlanta Wano is a country he's heard of before, but he has an idea. He wants to make peace with such a notorious country. So this makes him be gross for a long time, but he has an idea. He immediately would go into Shikai and freeze Ryuma's body in a giant ice block. He actually ties a rope to it, so telling Zoro to carry it back to the Thousand Sunny and put it in their deepest part. But they don't keep their food, but they just like spare ice, and then have like a whole sectioned off area for this body. And they have a lot of ice on the boat just for food. So the boat takes a lot of ice, fills up a small area, puts Ryuma's body in that room. When he comes back, finds a room and freezes the room itself. So yeah, I think it's also like a keto spell. Or kind of like a seal, where any basically water and atmosphere would immediately refreeze if the ice would melt. This room is just frozen, and then the ice and water won't seep out of the room, so the room could like continuously freeze. And they keep Ryuma's body on ice, so and the ice is so thick that you cannot see the body. So it's pretty well. It goes pretty well. And also, once you run out of ice, you can just like chop away this ice, and then it can melt and repair itself. So yeah. But with this, we go on basically to the next arc being Sabaody, where they chill here for a bit. While they're here, the supernovas see this giant ship, and they're wondering, who could this belong to? But Luffy just jumps down and says bounty 30 million, all the way up to now 390 million. He split the bark in half with his ship, and his ship's massive now. It's a threat. His ship alone should have a bounty of 100 million. So yeah. But the supernovas currently are still Zoro and Luffy. The other bounties in the crew I don't really care about, but I'll list them down real quick, because they're all strong fighters. They're all good, they're all expert martial artists. They're all really good with swords and knives. Luffy made them all a jack of all trades. Like Luffy's bounty himself, 290 million. Usopp around 60 million. Zoro around 230 million himself. Nami 40 or so million. Chopper is a good fighter. He also has control of Monster Point now, as Luffy forces him to learn how to control it. He also did that when I introduced him when he was 22. So yeah. So Chopper has a bounty of roughly around 30,000. Not too high, but still better than the cannon. Robin has the same bounty she would have currently. Boca has a bounty of around 70 million. And Sanji would have a bounty similar to Zoro, but he's not considered the supernova. He's considered just someone who's Zoro's equal. And I don't think it'd make sense to have him in the supernovas if there's going to be two people with the same level of power. All supernovas are either stronger or weaker than each other. They considered Luffy and Teach the strongest of the supernovas, but Luffy the stronger one with how strong he's being seen by everyone else. He has beaten literally every warlord besides two of them, and it was a reasonable defeat for the other two. Or it was a draw for Flamingo, but Luffy caused a loss, but who cares. Frankie would have a bounty of, she's the Northern Shipwright, so he has a bounty roughly about 20 million himself. Or actually, whatever bounty he got after well, he's lobby canonically. Andrew Brook has the same bounty as he is in canon. So, yeah. So they basically go on now to, like, probably just, I guess the slave auctions, they still did free Kami and everything else. But Luffy, when he saved Kami and talked to like Papago for a bit, he showed Papago that he has like a whole condition that he wants. You know, he wants to pay for saving Kami. He does this for basically everywhere that he saves. Or Papago being whole CEO, he has to give him a bigger condition. He wants to have 20% of every month's earning. Papago thought it was a little bit heavy, but Luffy says, your brand is known far and wide through the edge of the New World, all the way to the little islands in the East Blue. You can pay me 20%. Well, Papago shows that Luffy already knew this much, and he said, fine. 20% can easily be done. I'll do it. So, yeah. Also, those guys were about Wapol, because there was no Drum Island arc. Luffy easily chased Wapol out of there in his first day there. Like, Luffy terrified him. So, yeah. Luffy's a known bounty hunter. That's a warlord. So, Wapol kind of thought Luffy would hunt him down and bring him to, like, some random island. Luffy didn't know who Wapol was, but once he heard how cruel he was, he chased him out of the kingdom. But yeah, so Luffy also heard that he got captured, and Luffy immediately tried to come to Denamushi, called Kadasu. Kadasu got out of contact with Sabo. Sabo already heard the news, and Luffy tells him he's going to invade Impel Down. Like, give him a few days, and he'll find, he'll tell Sabo what he'll do. So, yeah. Before the attack could happen, though, the Marines had arrived for Luffy hitting a social dragon, and Luffy kind of looked outside, and he saw the PC Zeros, and as the crew handled the Marines outside. He'll lure away Kizaru, though. So Kuma didn't fight them on Sabaody. That's not what I mean. On the bark, because they left too early. They were there for like 10 minutes and then they left. But yeah, so Luffy lures away Kizaru. As he fights, it's like the defense, if you attack him, Kizaru would attack him. This is Luffy's the only reason he's there, so he'd learn and fall into the trap. As Luffy runs away, he eventually goes to the side. He's like after image to lure away Kizaru. Kizaru would follow it, but quickly realized that the after image it disappeared. And Luffy had found Zoro. Found Kid and Killer, as they still fought they still fought as a trio earlier. I shouldn't say it because it wasn't important to me. But yeah. So Luffy kind of ran like full speed ahead towards where the PX0 was that was attacking Kid. And Luffy just cut it in half immediately. He's like, I didn't need your help. Luffy's like, I don't care if you don't need my help. I consider you an ally now, so I'm gonna help you even if you don't want it. That's what allies do. He asks the Kid and then immediately runs away. And as Law's about to be punched in the face by the PX0, Luffy knows oh, Kido, Hado, and then would just Kido, Hado number so and hit a blast straight on the CP0, not CP0, on the PX0, blowing it in half. It will land only to be kicked in the chest by Kizaru, sent flying far, far away. Luffy's to the ground coughing a bit, but isn't seriously injured, which shocks Kizaru. He didn't even use hockey, but still, the kick was hard. So yeah, so with this, Luffy fighting Kizaru. Kizaru would use a sword infused with a light sword that's made of light. Luffy just coats his blade in ice and being able to reflect all the light. And Kizaru can't really get behind where Luffy's sword is, as Luffy made it intentional like that, or coated it in ice, so it's intentional like that. All Kizaru attacks are either being just reflected, or they barely do enough damage because Luffy's using light, basically just bright surfaces against light. All he's doing is either absorbing it or reflecting it. Kizaru's light is strong, but not hot. That's the best way to put it. Unless he were to use a laser-based or focused attack. Which Kizaru won't do because it would take focus to charge a laser. And Kizaru being Kizaru's whole thing is that almost like a whole running gag, Aki-Inu using a hot fruit, but he's cold-hearted. Kukulon's the complete opposite. He's cold fruit, but he's complete warm-hearted. And then Kizaru uses supposedly something as fast as light, but he's a very slow guy, even though he can move as fast as light if he wants to. Focus isn't really his thing. Like, it would take him a long time to focus, even if it took him a second. Like, oh, it'll take you a second to focus. Kizaru will focus a minute later. It's kind of how it works for him. Plus, Luffy moves about as fast as light does pretty easily without using any effort. But, like, he moves as fast as light does, not even using Shunpo. So Kizaru can't even charge by an attack even if he wanted to, so Luffy can avoid light pretty easily. So yeah. Like Luffy's using all that Shunpo already moves almost 1,000 times faster than light does. So yeah, Kizaru was just having attacks completely just defended against. But then Luffy would just use Bankai and freeze all the chips that Kizaru had. Then when Kizaru landed on the ice, Luffy just destroyed it all with a simple poke. And Kizaru fell into the ocean. Or almost did until he appeared next to Luffy, trying to kick him. Luffy was able to block it and stand his ground, only for Rayleigh to intervene and smack Kizaru away. And he immediately just like mumbled to Luffy, go to Kuma. Luffy ran off, went to find Kuma. It doesn't look like Kuma works for the revolutionaries. Kuma already sent the stars flying, telling Luffy he sent them, and then Luffy was sent flying himself. Blue and Onell holding to Namushi still. We landed, he immediately called Sabo, telling him where he was. With this, basically Karasu, Bella Betty, and Sabo arrive. But when they arrived, Boa had arrived herself, and then saw Luffy, like, she's like, who are you? Who are you to be here? Sabo's like, oh, I'm Luffy's older brother, or younger brother, and I'm also a student. But when he said, like, just smiled with hard eyes, saying, go on in, you're always welcome here. We shared Bella Betty, saying, do you know Luffy? He's like, I've never met him, but I've heard good things, like a stand-up guy. And Boa's like, good, keep it that way. Then in the kingdom, Luffy just proceeds to hang out there for a bit, until him and Sabo have a good plan, which didn't take them too long. It took them 5 minutes. At least out of everyone, only Luffy and Sabo are the master tacticians. Ace is okay at it, but Luffy and Sabo are way better. Luffy's holding is he's a master strategist and tactician, and with good intuition, the point where we're near precognition. That is how good he is. That's why a lot of fight Kizaru pretty well, so he doesn't like Kizaru's relatively slow. So, not slow, but literally. Or mentally, actually. Kizaru doesn't really process things as fast as he should. That's about it. Kizaru is just slow at processing things. Kind of like he's high, which I assume he is. It's a learning gag for Kizaru. So with this, Luffy, Sabo, and Bella Betty, and Karasu, along with just a few Kujo warriors disguised, invade Impel Down. Oh, hold up real quick. Alright, so, basically, as soon as they get to Impel Down, well, suddenly, as the marine ships all begin getting sank rapidly, which just confused Luffy for a bit, until Hachirun emerged from the water, saying he got a few fishermen and sea kings to help him. As he had heard that Jinbei is locked down there as well, he planned to just help Luffy, but he heard that Jinbei was locked down there as well, so he's here to mainly help Jinbei, but also help Luffy. And Luffy just smiles at him, thanking him. As Papa Goo says, he has to keep tabs on his allies. And Luffy smiles at him, saying, alright, the 20% can go down to 15, and Papa Goo's like, nope. Say at 20, we're good friends. You'll be Kami, you're gonna help Jinbei on too, I appreciate it. Luffy just nods as he runs down with basically just Kujo all by his side, as all the Marines head outside, simply just to find, also forgot to mention, Bentham is not here, actually. Bentham is in Impel Down. He's Impel Down as him in canon, but he's level 6 Impel Down currently. It's not like Luffy needs any help all the way down to level 6. He can beat anyone he wants to. All the Marines focus on the sinking ships and then the retreating fishmen who are covered up. All I know is that it's fishmen. They don't know which fishmen. It's honestly a fisherman pirate crew. That's it. But, yeah. So with this, as they get down, they do find the same guys in canon, besides Bentham. But then it comes to them versus Magellan. And Magellan basically started to attack Luffy, I'll kill you, Straw Hat. My poison destroys everything. Luffy says, can your poison... is your poison as dense as water is? Magellan says, why? Just answer the question. Just simple knowledge for a fight. Immediately called Sabo themselves in a lie pretty easily. And as soon as Magellan said no, Sabo just well, according to so-and-so, it is as dense as water is. He's like, okay, good. And then he just said, Shikai, and then poked Magellan, and Magellan just completely froze. Luffy walked away, saying, alright, good, alright, we can go. Kaido covered them all in crows as they fly on the ceiling, and, yeah. Then they're able to clear every single floor, so, yeah. Well, Buggy's isn't flying, but, Buggy's flying, but no Kaido. Luffy's holding on to his feet as Buggy flies himself. So Luffy and Buggy have met once or twice, that's about it. Luffy fought him once in the East Blue, then on their way out of the East Blue, got Sanji, they find Buggy's crew again and beat him. But also, yeah, Krieg's crew can never exist in the first place. Like, when Krieg set sail, Luffy destroyed him. Krieg had a pretty high bounty for recently escaping the Marines. But, yeah. But yeah, we can go on now, probably again, to just Luffy escaping Intel Down now, which Magellan's frozen and destroyed. Until Magellan was frozen, he shit himself. Simple as that. He shit himself. This goes back from like every a lot is the best way to put it. So Magellan is kind of just like, I need clothes. I can't find my clothes. And then Magellan's like, I need clothes. I need to use the bathroom. I need to fight Luffy, but he also can freeze me, and I'll be stuck for a long time. And Magellan had like, too much to prep to the point where he missed Luffy escaping. So yeah. Hold up real quick. But yeah, also they had to find Ivan, and the sub was like, we're helping you. Not we, meaning just them. I'm here for my brother. But they kind of want a favor, which is to find Ivan, and we don't know where he is. So they spend like a few hours fighting Ivan, and they barely missed Ace. Right as they leave Impel Down, Ace's ship is in the distance, but they can't catch up to it. Even if it was Karasu, it'd be too obvious. With this, Hachi's like, there should be like a marine ship that we can use to follow them, and they would do just that. And Luffy also all the times himself as Marines. So, yeah. So on the way out, they did not fight Blackbeard. They missed him. Not they missed him, he missed them. So, yeah. But yeah, so as soon as they get to Marineford, they arrive there before the ice is even frozen. Well, they actually kind of wait outside, actually, but... they find the marine ship, they sink it, they dock somewhere else. They hide somewhere else. They hide in the small town, it's all evacuated. But as soon as Whitebeard's ship arrived and starts making earthquakes, Luffy just snuck in and began moving around quickly, defeating all the guards, and disguising his own crew as the executioner guards. So, but one thing that would happen is right as Goku's like Marines, attack Whitebeard. Before he can finish it, he's hit in the back with something confused with hockey, and he's knocked off the stand. Then Garp is picked up by someone with 8 arms and thrown right into the water. Or actually, vice versa. Garp is knocked off a platform by someone with hockey. Goku's thrown right in the water by someone with 8 arms. Then the Ace is unlocked from Seastone, and Ace is picked up and they just run away. Hachi's really a fishman, and then the person that ended up hitting Garp with the hockey-infused attack is revealed to be Karasu. We don't know if he can hockey, but I assume he can with how high up in the government he is. So as he runs off, like hurry. For Karasu from the air, including the Mauling Crows, and flying off. Ace is off with Whitebeard's crew, and immediately she's like, asks like, aren't you guys like the revolutionaries? And from below deck, Luffy just nods. He says, "Yep, we are." So yep, they are. These people will come out, and they're all wondering how Luffy got aboard Whitebeard's ship without anyone noticing. Luffy just says, "We're really fast. Usually I am, but I'm also really strong as I can carry heavy people." So, Bella Betty waved her flag, just making everyone stronger, and they all be attacking heavily. Then the Marines are being overwhelmed by Bella Betty's urge to encourage people. So yeah. But then as the admirals begin attacking, or try to, they suddenly fall into a sinkhole. And then Morley would arrive as Morley begins making more holes, and can't everyone fall through them. Releasing Goku, who turns into a Buddha, and then immediately just has a hole with just his size. He's stuck in it now. But Whitebeard also would split Marineford almost down the middle, but still. With this, as they're about to escape, the ice isn't frozen, but suddenly a coated ship would come from beneath, as Whitebeard already knew that Luffy would be there. These things would end quickly. The ship would come from below, hit Whitebeard in the hull, and Whitebeard himself was almost near the hull, so he'd almost fall overboard. He'll catch himself only to be punched in the face by a darkness fist. With him being knocked on the jaw, his jaw would be broken, and he's knocked on the ground. Only from being bounced by Teach and stabbed repeatedly, right in the throat repeatedly, which actually would kill him. It's in the throat. Luffy would intervene before the killing blow was dealt and almost cut Blackbeard in half, but something would distract him, being punched in the face by Burgess. So yeah. Also, there's a bullet hitting him straight towards his eye, which he has to avoid. He would dodge it, but also gets hit in the face when he dodged and got sent flying. Also, just his own momentum ruined the moment. But with this, Marco's able to heal Pops, but he's still bleeding out everywhere. But then, before anyone knows it, suddenly Pops is hit right in the eye with a bullet, and that would kill him. Just the surprise attack would kill him, so, yeah. Luffy proceeds to kind of freeze the water around Blackbeard's whole crew, and barely any of them can now move. There's really no allies yet, so right as the battle keeps going on, the Marines would continue their ambush, only for Whitebeard's allies to ambush Blackbeard's crew. And Pops isn't quite dead yet, but he's barely alive. But Teach hit aboard as no one knows where Teach is. And no one's doing hockey because they're busy healing Pops. They're like below water now. But then right as they think, Pops had died due to illness, now serious injury, and Blackbeard took his fruit and sank the boat. But Luffy and Kaido to save everyone. While also Morlaix as they're kind of being dragged in like the sinkhole that's taking all the water, but then the water's turned towards somewhere else, and then they're able to hide below Marineford for a while. But on the time Luffy would chronically be in training, that would happen still. But then he would stop training to go participate in Payback War, which is more a draw than anything else. And people that participated in Payback War happen to be Luffy, Robin, Bone Clay, Margaret, Hachan, Ace, and Marco. This is the best Payback War. It's a draw because Pops' fruit is still in the hands of Whitebeard. Not Whitebeard, I mean, in the hands of Blackbeard. But Luffy also does attacking forces in Payback War. He would use his adult form to actually battle Teach. But he quickly timed out of it because he has no experience using his form. It's honestly happened on a whim, which he didn't know about. So, yeah. So he almost killed Teach, but the form timed out because he's never used it before, which everyone was like, this is a trump card, but they didn't lose it, they had a draw. But then, when to the end of the 2-year training, or now year training, it's Luffy trained for 1 year, but then Payback War. We'll probably go on, I'd say now, just the end of the 2 years. Luffy convinced Ace and Sabo to join his crew. Not Ace and Marco to join his crew. Now his crew consists of himself, in order, himself, Usopp, Zoro, Nami, Chopper, Bone Clay, Robin Bone Clay, Sanji, Frankie, Brook, Margaret, Hachan, Ace, Marco. That's his crew. And the ones that can use hockey. Hold up. By the end of 2 years, Luffy was the last to arrive somehow, despite him being the closest. But honestly, I'll tell you why he's the last one there. We could have Amazon Lily where Ace, Marco, and Luffy are kind of just doing things that should not be in anything unless it's a anime. That's what they're doing, just anime things. Anime harem MC things. Every isekai character's dream besides Nafumi. So, yeah. And by the time they do leave, well, at this point Luffy's already in his adult form permanently. He used it again and was stuck in it now. But he was not used to being big. Like, he fell on his face like every 3 minutes for a whole week straight. Which was fun to laugh at. Luffy in his adult form is roughly the same height as Frankie now, as I'm making Luffy, Toshiro is pretty big in the Bleachverse, I'd say, as an adult. But then he'd be pretty average in the One Piece verse, and to make Luffy big, I'm putting him at Frankie's height. So, Luffy's the same height as Frankie in his adult form. But as Marco and Ace are there, where's Luffy? And why are you guys with us? And where's Hachi? And who's this girl with the giant snake bow thing? And they're just wait a second. Suddenly just a giant ice path is made to the ship, and Luffy jumps aboard. I think it's Luffy because it's just the white hair, but Luffy looks just like this right now. So yeah. Let's see Luffy in just in complete utter shock. Nami, not Robin. She's seen Luffy a few times throughout the last 2 years. But yeah, I'm gonna go over the hockey standings of the crew. Usopp can use observation hockey. He's already been trained in it by Luffy, but by the time the 2 years are up, he's actually almost an advanced user of it. He just doesn't know how to train for armament hockey. He just doesn't know how. Zoro would use armament hockey and observation pretty well, actually. All stars have been trained in observation, but they either have it or they're nearing it. So yeah. Nami has pretty fine in observation hockey, as good as Onell's is, actually. Chopper has no hockey, but he's nearing observation. Robin and Bone Clay have both forms of hockey. Bone Clay with Ivan, Robin with Sabo. Sanji has both forms of hockey. He was with Bone Clay through the 2 years. He was with them for 1 year, then Bone Clay did this thing, and Sanji trained with him. Originally was armament hockey, as he wasn't trained in observation, but Luffy helped him train just for hockey in general. Brook's being trained in observation, but training was cut short because of Sabaody. Margaret already had both forms before she even met Luffy. And hot charm will stop both forms by Margaret, but he can barely use it. He can barely use observation. He can use on an okay scale. Ace can already use all forms of hockey, as stated before he even met Luffy. He already used all three forms before we even met him in canon. As he can use ornament hockey in his light novel, and I believe his light novel takes place a little bit before he even met Whitebeard. So, yeah. Marco can use both forms of hockey. So, yeah. Like Marco's insanely strong, and Luffy had surpassed Marco. Luffy basically surpassed his whole verse at this point. If he never goes all out, because it'd be a pointless battle if he would. But, yeah. So Luffy's current bounty after the 3 events of Payback War and how well he did against someone with 2 devil fruits, his bounty is raised to roughly about, I would say, around 800 or so million. So, yeah. Marco's bounty is now officially like 1.46 billion, and Ace went from like 500 million to now 700 million, and Sabo is at the same bounty as Ace. So, yeah. Also, Law was in Payback War as well, not Rocky Port. He was in Payback War the fact that Luffy knew him and considered him an ally still, and he also owes Luffy for saving him from the Pacifista. So, yeah. But, yeah, so we can now go on probably to, the next thing being, like, we'll probably go on to maybe, probably just fucking Fishman Island, which Hachi already dealt with, so there's really no battles here. Honestly, it's just like a mini training arc, so us can just train together. Then later, Brook and Chopper achieving observation. They were already nearing it, they just both achieve it. So, yeah. Great obs for both of them. Alright, good. Frankie doesn't know armor hockey yet, but Frankie's getting near there. He's also learning armor hockey now, so, yeah. So we go on to the next targeting Punk Hazard, but they already know everything about it now because it just things happened. So they already know anything they need to about this so-and-so thing. And, yeah. They already know everything they knew about Punk Hazard. It's a pretty simple arc, actually. And with Marco, Chopper, and Law together, it's basically a dream team, and they actually almost find a cure. So it does pretty well. Could have shrunk it back into decent size, but they're still as tall as average adults are. Like 5'8" to 6'2". They're about that height. So, yeah. These are pretty easily also pretty easily dealt with by Law. Actually, this Law trained a lot harder after the incident of Payback War. So, yeah. So Luffy at this point already has a grand fleet making up of every single Whitebeard ally just because his strength was so impressive. But yeah. So Luffy already has a fleet of a few, almost 800 or so men, Weevil and a Blackbeard to hunt down a few allies. So yeah. Hold up real quick. Alright, back on. So I'm going to go over all Luffy's current abilities by the time we get to Dressrosa, which is the important arc. So basically, I'll start from the beginning, which you guys would probably hate, but I don't care. Luffy's a child prodigy, like I said before. He's a prodigy at this point. He already uses advanced observation and Ryuo. He already uses both of those things. I support he already surpass Marco, and I think those things would require him to surpass Marco. Child prodigy, he's a master tactician and has high intuition, which is now actual precognition. He's a master swordsman, Kido expert, which he would use Bakudo or binding, barriers, and Hado Blast along with Kaido, which is healing. He's not a good doctor, he just knows this. So yeah. He's now a master of Shunpo and a master of Hakuda. He has endurance to the point where even a Quake Bubble would not phase him, or it would, but not too heavily. He can tank it and immediately go back to fighting, so that's how durable he is without even using Haki. He has Horin Maru, which is just a regular katana, but has a really cool guard, and is also a supreme grade sword. Also, they still have Ryuma's body aboard their gigantic ass ship. So, yeah. Shikai is basically just like a rain over the frosted heavens. It's like his release command. He has control over ice and water using his Shikai. And he has 10 So or 10 Sho shooting, which allows him to control water in the atmosphere, over an ice wall. Rokui Hyoketsujin, which is just an ice pillar trap. Is his Bankai, which is Daiguren Yorin Maru, which just gives him the ice dragon limbs. He also has a technique that allows him to turn into a full-fledged dragon, which he can actually hide in the mouth of. He has a Holified Bankai, which he doesn't know about yet. He doesn't use it. Basically, in canon, this is a spoiler for the Bleach 1000 Year Blood War. His Bankai gets stolen, then Holified Bankai is what he gets next. He has an Ice Clone, which actually resembles him really well. No, he doesn't need a lot of after images. He has a shield. He uses the wings that he grows in like his Bankai form to actually use like the wings he grows and acts as a shield. He has a technique called Ryu Senka, which is just ice erupting from a stab wound that he can inflict. Then there's Senden Hyoro, which is just ice prison. Then he has Guncho Sarada, which is just you freeze the water either in the area or nearby. Then he has Hyoru Sunbi, which is just a crescent slash of ice. He has his adult form, which Luffy's now constantly stuck in. Then he has a technique that he has called Flash Freeze, which is a greater distance. Then he has the ability to freeze all matter for 4 seconds, be it living or non-living. Which he's had its form for now like a year and a half. Again, that 4 seconds is upgraded to 14 seconds, so he does really good. But yeah, so next up, Dressrosa, which is actually a pretty easy arc. Like Luffy already knew where Doflamingo was. So, like he has a lot of connections to like thousands of islands actually, like thousands. He already had over 180 connections in the East Blue, over 200 in the South, 3 small islands in the Calm Belt. Every island from fucking Crocus all the way up to like Seba Odi. Then a few small islands across Webber's territories. Like all of them, unless Weevil or Teach destroyed them. Yeah, Luffy has thousands of connections to islands. He knows where Dofi is pretty easily, actually. I was like, no. Doflamingo is, like, yep, he's in Dressrosa, and he's in this castle, taking it over. And, well, I was like, okay, good, you know. But when it came to Fujitora being here, yeah, Luffy kind of had, like, lobbying, like supervised by Hachi, Margaret, and Bone Clay. Well, then Luffy, Marco, and Ace would just go to fight Doflamingo. But yeah, so as soon as Doflamingo's like a giant like blue bird flying at him, he immediately just used Birdcage. But Luffy just jumped off Marco and cut Birdcage in half with just one go. And then with this, Luffy been hunting Dofi and pretty easily beat him. Luffy at the age of 19 almost beat Doflamingo. Not 19. At the age of 21 already almost beat Doflamingo. It was more of a draw, but Luffy called it a loss. But Luffy proceeds to just obliterate Doflamingo this time. Luffy is already stronger than Kaido is currently. Believe it or not, he is. He may only use Ryuo and very little advanced observation hockey, but his ice is insane. So he's already strong as Kaido is, and Doflamingo's pretty easily obliterated with just one slash, which was just him using a common side swipe. So yeah, the common side swipe defeated Doflamingo. And that would basically end the arc until Luffy saw like a giant meteor coming down in the distance, where he just ran and cut it in half immediately, which a lot of thanked him for. But then Zoro would jump in, cutting it into pieces, and then it follows up with just Marco bleeding a giant blast of flames, with Ace helping him, and then those rebels all just turn to ash. Luffy manages by inhaling and blowing all the ash at Fujitora, which doesn't do anything to him, it just makes him a bit dirty. Also, you would see that Marines have their eyesight kind of just blurred out, and Luffy and Fujitora would probably like put the safety of his crew over some of the mission occasionally. You assume he would. Fujitora would actually try to help his crew by using gravity to weigh down a little bit of it. Only for him to actually stab through the arm by Luffy. Luffy says like he hates to harm such a good man, but he needs to help his allies before he needs to help his allies have worthwhile goals before forwarding his own. When you need to have everything set up. And immediately Fujitora says he understands he do the same thing. He tries to hit Luffy in the face, only Luffy to punch him back in the face. Fujitora knows that Luffy's strength and speed are equal to him. His skill is passing Fujitora, actually. Only the Fujitora has on hockey, the thing that Fujitora has on Luffy is literally just hockey, that's about it. Which doesn't matter, as Luffy's fertility is going crazy. So Luffy pretty easily defeated Fujitora. Well, not defeated him, it almost ended in a draw. As Luffy was somewhat predicted by Fujitora. Luffy's obviously tired by the end of the fight, as he would poof back into his kid form, which they haven't seen for a long time. And as soon as he did it, well, Nami and Robin can help it but just hug Luffy. And Luffy had a bit of a blush, but Sanji yelled calling him a lucky idiot. As Luffy's face was pressed between every One Piece fan's heaven. Pretty solid. But yeah. But eventually Luffy just drops down, saying, give him just 5 minutes. So, yeah. And Bose kind of transformed his face into Robin before taking the whole jacket off just to mess with Luffy, which he immediately just fainted from, and so did Sanji. But when Luffy woke up, he's back in his adult form, and Marco says, that's better. So, yeah. But with this, we go on now to the next arc being Zo, with the whole crew arriving there at the same time. But when Beishe would arrive, only to see Luffy there, Luffy's bounty was risen to 2.1 billion for time with Fujitora. And remember, he beat him, but Luffy turned into a kid, so they thought that Luffy had lost. Or tied with him, I mean. So Luffy's bounty is currently, 2.1 billion. And immediately just, Beishe froze. So he's saying he just doesn't want to fight. Luffy turned him down saying, why are you here? He's like, Sanji's family's calling for him. Sanji's like, well, I don't care. He's like, who's Sanji's family working for if they're calling him? And he's like, Big Mom. It's like, okay, cool. We'll fight Big Mom. And his whole crew agreed, not hesitating one bit. So yeah, so they all agreed to fight Big Mom. So Luffy heads down to fight Big Mom, or heads out to his whole island, pretending to give her Sanji, but he says he wants money. Only for him to be grabbed immediately by Ichiji, saying, who do you think you are? But then Ichiji kicked in the face by Sanji, and his jaw just shattered on impact, which no one thought Sanji could do. But then Luffy's crew just proceeds to jump into shadows and immediately annihilate Sanji's. Besides Reiju, which I'm like, leave her alone unless she attacks you by command. If she is trying to attack you, just knock her out quickly. Which she is committed to attack, but Luffy just chopped her back in the neck, taking her down. Luffy let out, one command: raid Whole Cake Island, but don't kill anyone unless they attack you first with killing intent. Which everyone keeps observation hockey now, so they can sense the intent. And they do just that. Nami ends up fighting Cracker, but would you use one Raiga and kill him? Zoro fights Katakuri, but Sanji would join him. And with Sanji and Zoro being a lot stronger, they're able to use Haki a lot, basically able to use Haki and everything. They're doing really good. Sanji would awaken cybernetics mid-fight, and Sanji's a lot stronger than usual, so cybernetics are awakened mid-fight, and when he does, he's actually able to beat Katakuri. And Zoro had She's versus Conquerors mid-fight, too, so, yeah. Chopper had basically fought Topago with Pedro, and Pedro didn't have to resort to self-destruction. When he tried to, Chopper tore it off him and threw him in the air. But then at the same time, he kicked Topago in the air, letting him be hit by the bomb. But when he landed, Pedro almost cut him in half. And he would just die later on to injury. Robin and Bone Clay team up and are able to defeat the guy like the book. Preaches him as like a Mont Door. And then the guy with the guy with the genie. Bone Clay and Robin are able to take down the guy with the book fruit and the guy with the genie fruit. They'll be able to do that. Frankie would fight Oven, and she should be able to beat him pretty easily. Luffy's ice fuels a lot of Frankie's armor to make it resistant to cold. Well, not armor. It's secondly to make it cold resistant and waterproof, but also it makes it intensely durable, so Oven doesn't really do much to Frankie at all. Frankie pretty easily defeated Oven without being burned at all, which did actually weaken Oven a lot. Then Brooke ends up helping Luffy fight Big Mom. Be simple for him, actually. Margaret fights Brûlé with Hachion, and they're both able to beat her pretty easily, actually. Margaret was like the main force, but Hachi was the main distraction. Then as they're both put in the mirror dimension, and Brûlé gets hit with a giant Haki-infused arrow, or she thought it was an arrow until it hit her, and it was just a giant stick infused with Haki. Interesting that they didn't want to kill her, they were just fighting. So yeah. Then, with helping Luffy fight Big Mom, happened to be Ace. Well, Luffy, Brooke, and Ace fought Big Mom, and as a group are able to actually defeat Big Mom. And then eventually we go on to now Marco, who just, the army that Luffy fought in canon, minus a few fighters of the Straws are fighting, Marco took down the whole army by himself. And then Jinbei basically had helped everyone escape, he helped people escape, casualties and everything, Also helped Hachan if he needed help. That's why Luffy didn't invite Jinbei to join his crew. Whole Cake Island in shambles, and Luffy being the obvious victor to this, or him and his allies being the victor to this. He actually tells them, let's all head to Wano together as a group, because I have a gift for them. And with this, well, they get to Wano, but immediately they do mask their ship, as Frankie had a lot more time to work on it. They have a disguise feature. They turn into a merchant ship, and they set on the edge of Wano. But eventually, we get enough info there, we find out that Ryuma is from the Ringo region. But when they find the graveyard, Luffy has a giant ice thing that he's dragging with them. And he's confronted by the fox thing. He's we're dragging around the graveyard. Luffy then bows, saying, we have a gift. Luffy would bow and be talking about what the warlords are on the outside world. And Fox I'm pretty sure Onimaru. Or what does that have to do with us? He's well, there's a shadow fruit that allows us to revive the dead. And one of the guys that had the fruit had revived Ryuma. And Ryuma's corpse took the sword. And then Onimaru's are you here from the sword? And he was no, Ryuma had sentience when he was revived. And he passed the sword on to someone who was a strong swordsman, who was able to lay him to rest. And Onimaru says, this sounds like Ryuma, but who has a sword? Zoro popped up before slashing the ice block in half. And Zoro says, this is our gift. As is Ryuma's corpse. Onimaru couldn't help but cry and just say thank you for returning it. And he says, just for returning it, you can keep the sword. Zoro says that he's heard a former legendary blade, so he'll be giving Shusui back to Ryuma. As Zoro's out on the hunt for Enma. But Onimaru just questioned Luffy about his sword and saying, where'd you find that? And Luffy says he honestly doesn't remember, but he had a connection to something, and he picked up what he had a connection to, and happened to be Hyorin Maru. But yeah, so with this, they find all the scabbards. And when it came to they already had Kinemon and Momonosuke, but when it came to finding Shinobu, oh, Momonosuke, you can ask Shinobu to make you older immediately, and she did just that. So yeah, Luffy came to spend time training Momonosuke the whole time. Momonosuke at this point is a pretty good samurai actually. He's really strong. As a kid, Luffy already trained him up in the span of 2 months or so to already take down grown men pretty effortlessly. He's about as strong as a common gifter at the age of 8 years old, but then he has the strength of a grown man and the skill of a pretty okay samurai, actually. So Momonosuke is pretty strong. He'd be a headliner, actually. Headliner is like speed and everything. So speed as in the hybrid horse thing. He's pretty hot, but she's a horse. It's weird. But yeah. So he's about as strong as her, but he doesn't use Haki just yet. But until it came to the time where Kaido would use a Boro breath on the mountain that Luffy and everyone else was on, well, Momonosuke for the first time would use his dragon by will and meet the same Boro breath. And now at this point, Momonosuke can use observation Haki. So, yeah. But then as soon as the Boro breaths are clashing, Jinbei would just use a giant attack to erase the Boro breaths off the map and an attack at Kaido, with Hachan helping him. Hachan would jump in the air using 8-sword style piercing dive, and hit Kaido right across the face with it. Didn't really do much damage, but it hit him. Well, then Zoro would use Enma. Zoro had gotten it a while ago, and he even said he used Conqueror's Haki, as Sanji had said he did. Or Zoro didn't think it, but Sanji clarified it was, and then Zoro was I used it. So Luffy trained him. Luffy's been using it for over a decade by now. At this point, Luffy's Conqueror's Haki is probably as good as Kaido's is, I'm not gonna lie. So all are currently stacked. So hold up. So let's go on the scale of just Haki with the Straw Hats. Luffy uses basically Conqueror's Haki coating already. He has future sight up to around 8 or so seconds. But with his intuition, it would spread to roughly around a minute or so. Then Usopp would use advanced observation and regular armament Haki. Then Zoro would use Conqueror's Haki coating and advanced observation Haki. And then Nami uses advanced observation and regular armament Haki. Chopper would use average observation and average armament Haki. Both and Robin both use average scale, but they're approaching Ryuo. They're being trained in it currently by Hyogoro as they stage a prison break, actually. Mainly to free Kawamatsu, but Luffy just snuck in, froze a few cell locks, and freed a few people. So yeah. He freed the ones that would be useful, and that didn't do any crimes. There's very few people that did crimes, but he didn't free those guys. He also told everyone to be quiet, or else he'd kill them. So, yeah. Sanji would use both forms, but also has cyborg abilities. He can currently also use Ryuo. And then Frankie can now use, advanced armor Haki, using his armor. And then would also use pretty low-scale observation. He's been using ornament for the whole 2-year time skip. Then Brooke can now use pretty average observation and average ornament hockey. Margaret can now use advanced forms of both. She's been using hockey for a few years now. Hachi can use advanced observation hockey. Ace can use Conqueror's Hockey coding and advanced observation. Marco can just use now literally just perfect Rio and really advanced observation. He has the best observation out of the whole crew besides Luffy, whose intuition heightened it. And Jinbei is the same thing as Marco. So, yeah. Looking at them all fighting Kaido, they decimate him. But he had numbers and they were in an innocent village, so they had to leave just so they didn't kill innocents by accident. So Kaido called it a loss, but his crew called it a draw. And Luffy felt similar as Kaido. They had to leave because they had morals, so they called it a loss. But his crew called it a draw. But they trained even harder to prep for Kaido. So, yeah. Plus, they actually found Kid and Killer. Well, they found Killer. Kid was already here, but Kid couldn't fight right now. But by the time that they do want to raid Onigashima, they've already trained a while. And Onimaru even actually insisted that Zoro get back Shusui. But Zoro just kept saying no. So, yeah. But in the meantime, for Zoro training, he actually turned Wano into a Black Blade, because I think that'd be a step for him after Wano. But Zoro training is so strong throughout the years that he could turn Wano into a Black Blade right now. So he would do just that, turn Wano into a Black Blade, and heightening his Conqueror's Hockey coding, because he had already mastered Enma before he fought. Sanji has now perfect Ryuo. Ryuo by the time it came to Onigashima. Nami had awakened her Gorgo no Mi in the time for the Onigashima training. Chopper got physically stronger. Plus, they actually prepped for anything that could happen as Bone Clay infiltrated Onigashima himself, and told them about everything that he could about Queen and everything that they had. So they were able to make a cure to the Ice Oni virus before they even needed it. They even have a Gatling gun made by Kid and Frankie. They actually shoot out the cure as fast as they can shoot out the virus. But Frankie's the one that holds on to the Gatling gun. Robin had awakened her fruit. She already hasn't, but I assume that she has. No, she hasn't, I mean. And then Bone Clay did the same thing, where he actually, I would say, well, his awakening seemed really cool, but I don't think we'd ever see it. I think his awakening probably allowed him to create clones of the people's faces he's copied. So, I think that'd be a cool awakening. Only thing is that they can't use his abilities, they can only use his abilities, which is kind of, I think it's like the same thing as Twice, what Twice from MHA can do. Only thing that happened is that there's a time limit, which is around 5 minutes for currently for Bone Clay. You know, Frankie has the Frankie Shogun, but a lot bigger because of Luffy's money and resources. So Frankie Shogun's like double the canonical size, plus he uses Haki. It's a Frankie Shogun, but double the size, double the power, and uses Ryuo. What more do you want from it? This thing will clash with admirals and probably win. That's how stacked it is. Brook's power is heightened by a lot. He uses really good Haki, and his power is now its maximum limit. Besides his Haki, everything about him isn't tapped out besides his Haki. Margaret, she's just stronger and has better aim. And her observation allows her to basically see all the way from where she is right now, all the way to Onigashima, but only to the entrance, and that's about it. Ace also found Yamato and freed her, then brought her over to their side. Speaking of Yamato, forgot to write her down. Yamato. And I'd say she uses all forms of Haki. I believe she has Conquerors too. Hachon just got stronger and learned fishing karate from Jinbei. Ace just got heightened Haki and awakened his fruit. I assume Marco's not his peak yet. He's still getting stronger and stronger. He's not in his prime yet either. But still, Marco's just really strong right now. And Jinbei is just heightening his mastery fishing karate and fishing jiu-jitsu. And he is now perfecting his Ryuo. And Yamato is just getting stronger by the day. But now it comes to the fish raid of Onigashima. Hokkaido already heard that Lillian lost and wanted to make a strong ally, so he recruited her. Told her to bring all of her allies, as he needs help with Luffy. He almost lost. By the time they came to Luffy just approaching Kaido, Luffy is just ready. Just ready for the smoke. He gave him Momonosuke ice armor. Almost currently would use ornament Haki and observation on a pretty okay scale. Luffy's been training him in both forms since he found him on Punk Hazard. Kinemon also ended up... Sabbers all use Ryuo and advanced observation now. They all have really good Haki already. So yeah. Also, Carrot and Wanda all use Haki as well. But yeah, we go on now to just Onishima. And Mosuke just called out Kaido. Kaido came out, but Luffy just told like, ask Kid and Law, do they want to fight? Like who they should fight. But Luffy says he wants to handle Kaido by himself. It's a one-on-one fight between him and Kaido. But Momonosuke says, no, I'll fight with you. He's like, okay, Momo versus Kaido, and I'll set up fights real quick. Got all fights written down. So first fight is Luffy and Momonosuke versus Kaido. Before that does happen, Momonosuke can't be abducted, but Kanjuro tries to stab Momonosuke before he turns into a dragon, but he's easily stopped by Zoro, who just kills him. So that kind of just ends there. Also, the Scabbards do first fight Kaido. Kokiku still loses her arm, but Kaido is pretty badly roughed up by the Scabbards, as they all learned advanced Haki. They didn't already have it, so yeah. They already had advanced Haki, it's perfected now. Kaido does have a bit of damage, but he heals. But then Luffy and Momo fight Kaido, and then he loses in the first 10 minutes or so. Luffy doesn't even need Bankai, he needs Shikai, and Momonosuke doesn't even need a Blower Breath, he just needs Clouds. So yeah, just biting Clouds, and then a Shikai. That's about all it takes to beat Kaido. Kid and Law fight Linlin, but they've already learned their awakenings and mastered their awakenings learned their awakenings pretty well. They have a lot more energy to spend as well, so they beat Linlin pretty easily. Same as Luffy and Momonosuke, first 10 minutes. Then Usopp versus Page 1. Usopp can use 2 forms of Haki now, and he's pretty okay with both. He can even use advanced form of observation, so Page 1 can't really beat Usopp at all. Usopp nails him down pretty well. With hand-to-hand combat alone, Usopp almost beat him. So yeah, then Zoro versus King. A lot of this is a bit in order of joining, but I did mess up a bit in the end. Zoro fought King, but Zoro nearly not half dead. Zoro did get recovered. But Zoro, while still being a bit roughed up and barely learning how to control Enma, was already pushing King to his limit. Or not limit, but pushing him pretty well. And Zoro being in a peak condition, not fighting Kaido at all, not fighting anyone really. They found King first, and him and King fight. But Zoro pretty easily figured out how King fought, and pretty easily beat him. So the fight lasted 3 minutes or so. Then for Sanji versus Queen, Sanji and Queen's fight lasted 3 minutes, but it was just Sanji embarrassing Queen. But also, he had to find the Ice virus before it was launched, but it already was launched. Only just Chopper and Marco cure it pretty easily. They already had the cure. Frankie handed it to them. But yeah. But then Nami versus Ulti happened, but Nami just hit her once with a lightning bolt, and that was the end of the fight. Nami's lightning bolt used with Haki. Ulti couldn't use anything to escape that attack. She's defeated. Hell, if Nami wants to destroy Onigashima, but she doesn't want to kill that many people, there's innocence in there too. She knows it. Then Chopper versus Hacha. Chopper versus Hacha. Hacha is one of the numbers. And I believe Hacha is the one that Luffy went Gear 4th and punched in the face. He's the giant guy with the glasses, blue hair, and what was it? What's it called? The Kanabo. So blue hair, glasses, Kanabo. Never fought him, and Chopper beat him pretty easily actually. Robin versus Black Maria lasts 8 minutes or so. That was a pretty simple fight for Robin. When Clay fought Ingby, another number. I forgot what he looks like, but I'm pretty sure he's one of the more demonic numbers. Frankie versus Husky, but Husky attacked Frankie. Frankie hit him once in the face using Riwo, and that took him out for the rest of the fight. Frankie used one punch, and that was even using Frankie's Shogun. So, yeah. Husky's I'll impale you. Frankie's like, no, you won't. Flick a Riwo, and you're out for the rest of the fight. Or for the rest of the arc, really. Brook versus Juki. Juki is another number. Juki looks a bit more sleazy. He's purplish, I believe, with red horns. They're more from his mouth, so red fangs. Or red tusks. Margaret and Hachan versus CP0. Izo does help him with this, and they pretty easily beat all CP0, and Izo doesn't die like in canon. This is a spoiler. We're in Onigashima, you should expect this stuff. Ace and Yamato defeat the remaining numbers pretty easily, actually. The remaining Scabbards defeating all of Orochi's guys. Orochi didn't kill Kaido. They had a straight up attack, not a plan. They didn't need a plan besides attacking. So the Scabbards just defeated Orochi's guys pretty easily. They were pretty roughed up by Kaido still, but they're able to recover faster because they didn't do as much damage. So yeah. So with this, with Ace and Yamato defeating the numbers, we go now to Jinbei and Who's Who. Jinbei pretty easily beat Who's Who. Like, it wasn't hard for him to do so. Who didn't even get a chance to power up before Jinbei ended the fight in the first 2 minutes. And Marco just fought every single gifter around. That's about it. Fought every single gifter, every single enemy samurai. Marco kind of did like the cleanup work more than anything else. So, yeah. When it came to the Marines arriving, with the fights ending pretty easily, Onigashima lasted maybe 30 minutes at the most. 30 minutes at the most. So by the time that they do leave Onigashima, well, it wasn't even in the air, first off. And when the Marines do arrive, Ace just clears it out. Ace is an awakened user of the Marinomi. He just used one blast, and the Marines are gone. Zunisha didn't need to come. And Luffy's not joyful. He's the reincarnation. He could technically be joyful if the story would call for it, but Luffy is a Sword Reaper at this point, so it doesn't really matter. Well, yeah, this would basically end the story so far, or the little anime stories that we're in. So yeah, this is the end of the fights. But then we go on to just I guess like just them having a party with like Monosuke as a new shogun, and yeah, Green Bull does arrive to fight, but Monosuke fought him. He did pretty good against Green Bull. But then the Scabbards would fight him as well, and the Scabbards do push Green Bull pretty well as well. He's like, oh, you guys all have really strong hockey. It's impressive. But Yamato joined in and almost beat Green Bull. But then Shanks would intervene. But as soon as he intervened, Luffy appeared like right on his boat. And this actually should shock him. Luffy did tell Shanks, after Green Bull's defeated by Zoro, if Momosuke would let him help, Luffy wants to fight Shanks. And Shanks basically ends up agreeing to this fight. So yeah, this leads us to know Luffy's really strong. This is everything else. Luffy's stronger than Kaido and Big Mom combined on his own. Not combined, but are you stronger than Kaido and Big Mom? He may be the strongest emperor so far. As his adult form already almost beat Blackbeard, it was just he had no limit on it. But now he is in it at all times if he wants to be. Plus his hockey must be insanely strong if you beat Kaido. Because his hockey surpasses Kaido and Big Mom in every single way. So yeah. But yeah, so we can go on basically to I don't know. We can probably go on to maybe I guess Monosuke would let Zoro help, as Monosuke's like, yeah, I do need to pick one on my own, but I do know when to ask for help, as you guys are now my official allies. So Zoro would help him fight Green Bull, and he actually does they do win. But then Luffy and Shanks would fight, and the fight once ends in a draw more than anything else. There's no Shanks told Luffy to have that equally strong pirate. Luffy wears the hat either way, but Shanks ends up taking the hat. So yeah, this Luffy's dream accomplished, but his crew's dream isn't accomplished yet. So he'll keep going until they accomplish it. So yeah. But with this, they do end up hearing about like the whole thing at Reverie. But this time Sabo's a bit better. Actually, he actually doesn't have the Marinomi, but it's really advanced hockey. Or really advanced hockey more than anything else. So yeah. Sabo was actually able to survive Reverie the same way as in canon. And yeah. So we can go on to the end of this arc now. They leave Wano. Luffy decides to head to like someone's like I'll head this way. Kid's like, I'll head to the middle. Blah, like I'll head northeast. Luffy's like, oh, I'll head southeast. Kid's like, I'll head middle. And Long's like, I'll head northeast. So yeah. This is they head the directions. And they all leave the most dangerous way because Luffy still has a bit of an ego. So yeah. So this crew would consist of, well, first when it came to exploring all Wano, Ace invited Yamato to join. Yamato thought about it. Yamato's like, after explore Wano, Ace like, let's train and explore Wano together. And they did just that. So Yamato's almost those goals already accomplished most of the way. So it didn't really matter. The current Ace training was exploring Wano. So yeah. So yeah. So yeah. So we can go on probably just to now, I'd say. Well, I guess the next arc could possibly be Vera or Elbaf, but I'd go Vera. I don't think Elbaf would be a necessary arc, probably just more of a training arc than anything else. So with this, we can probably go on to now, just Vera. They find the last road printing glyph. And while they're here, well, they do meet the man marked by flames, possibly. Maybe whoever it is in canon, they meet him, they go as well, or ends the fight. I bet Luffy wins. He's the strongest Yonko currently. Luffy's Grace starts his bounty. Luffy, his bounty, 4.8 billion. Or actually, better yet, 4.9 billion. He's beaten Shanks. And then Usopp. Usopp's bounty is roughly about 500 million or so. Zoro, 2.3 billion. Nami, around 440 million. Chopper, around 80 or so million. I'll say 80 million at the highest. Robin, her bounty is 1.8 billion. Bone Clay, 1 billion. Sanji, same as Zoro, around 2.3 billion. Actually, no, 2.1 billion. They're not Yonkos, but they're 2.1 billion. Kid and Law have the same bounties in canon, though. Yeah, Frankie has a bounty of now 800 million. Brooke has a bounty of 400 million. Margaret has a bounty of 300 million. Hachi, same as Margaret, 300 million. Ace, 3.4 billion. Actually, not 3.4 billion. Also, 2.2 billion, same as Teach. Marco, 2.2 billion, same as Teach. Jinbei, 1 billion. Yamato, same as Luffy. Same as Kid and Law, 3 billion. I think that she used Conqueror's like coating and pressed Green Bull. So, yeah. So with this, we go on now to just Fira, final last word glyph, Man Rock Great Flames. Either goes in the fight that Luffy wins but he is pretty injured by, or he goes really good. And the next arc would probably be Elbaf, which is probably unnecessary now, but who cares? The next arc would be Lodestar. Then Lodestar, they probably follow as poneglyphs, but they also meet Blackbeard there, or they see him leaving. But he didn't have anyone to read the poneglyphs perfectly, but he could decipher where Laugh Tale was from it. That's all a little bit he could do. Or he just follows Luffy, one of the two. But yeah, but because he has no one who reads poneglyph, I'd say that he follows Luffy instead. They hear about the voice entry, which goes pretty well actually. If you listen pretty intently. He also just hear as I was talking about explaining it. Luffy was already halfway through the story, so yeah. But then they get over to go to the Laugh Tale, and then as they're about to collect the treasure, they're attacked by Blackbeard and his allies. But Luffy knew he was being followed, so right as Blackbeard had arrived, so Luffy and Marco's and Ace's allies of Whitebeard's old crew, along with just Luffy's actual allies they got in Dressrosa. And even a few revolutionaries. And Blackbeard is estimated by Luffy alone as Luffy is currently strongest being on Earth. So, yeah. Luffy can already tank the Gorgonomino no matter how much force he would use. Luffy's already approaching Prime Whitebeard now, probably even surpassing that. And that was before the fight even began. Then when the fight did begin, Luffy in the middle of the fight grew to be level of Roger, then surpassed that. But that was honestly just because he had a lot of growth to do that he didn't focus on. Then when he focused on his growth, trying to get stronger, he would grow and surpass Roger. And he beat Blackbeard just like that. The Village Soul Crew is easily defeated by the Straw Hats, as they're all experts at hockey now and martial arts. So yeah. And we can really go forward again. Yeah, probably just now the end of the story. This they do help Sabo defeat the whole government or overthrow it. And they throw the red line where Sanji is all blue. At the end of it, Zoro fights Mihawk. Zoro accomplished his dream. Nami already had her dream accomplished a while ago once they found Laugh Tale. Chopper found a cure medicine like in the middle of Vera. Robin had her dream accomplished, I believe. It's just finding out about the voice injury in the middle of D. Same for Law. Also, Law and Kid were both at Lodestar. They went to Laugh Tale as well. That's why they're allies, but yeah. But they didn't have a dream besides to help Robin and Luffy. Sanji found all what I just said. Frankie did whatever Frankie's dream was. I forgot it, honestly. Probably just find Pluton, which he did in Wano. Brooke ran with Laboon once the red line was destroyed, and Laboon just swam as fast as he could all around. And after 3 weeks, Laboon found Brooke. They're actually on their way to bring Brooke to Laboon. Actually, the whole crew is still together. Margaret honestly want to be strong enough to be worthy of becoming the Empress of the Kuja, which she would challenge Hancock, and she won and became the Empress. and Luffy having 2 wives being basically Hancock, and I could probably see it being like maybe Hancock and her sisters. So Luffy does do a few things with them. So Luffy has 3 wives instead of 2. It's just Hancock and her sisters. And Hachi marries Margaret. Ace married Yama or Yamato. Marco did his thing. Married maybe fuck, what was that girl's name? Let me hold up. Marco can marry like Whitey Bay or Bella Betty or something. I don't care. Jinbei does what Jinbei does best, and actually became like probably just like the third highest in command of the Fishmen. And yeah, I'm just end the story now. Hope you enjoyed this first What If. Like and subscribe for more. Adios.